It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech. Great panel for you. Jason Heiner is here from CNET, Larry Magid from Connect Safely, and from Consumer Reports. I'm really excited. Nicholas De Leon, he's their senior electronics reporter. There's lots to talk about. Who would pay $69 million for a JPEG? Well, apparently someone would. It's the third largest price ever for a living artist. Unbelievable. We'll also talk about who we think did it and what the real reason behind it is. Some good news for internet users in rural areas. We'll talk about that. And watch out. Time to stop sharing your Netflix password. They're cracking down. It's all coming up next on TWiT.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 814, recorded Sunday, March 14th, 2021, imbued with Musk. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Forward Networks. Forward Networks reduces business risk by revolutionizing the way large networks are managed. Their advanced software delivers a digital twin of your network, a completely accurate mathematical model in software. Get a demo at forwardnetworks.com/twit. And by Podium. Find out how Podium can help your business reach more customers. Get started today free at podium.com/twit. And by ExtraHop. When cyber criminals get past your business's defenses, you need a plan for detection and response. Learn more about how ExtraHop stops breaches 84% faster and explore their interactive demo at extrahop.com/twit. And by ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is an app that reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers, so your ISP can't see the sites you visit. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/twit. It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news with the best people I can find on short notice. No, it's the best people in tech journalism, like Jason Heiner, editorial director at CNET. Hi, Jason.
Hey, a pleasure to be here, as always.
For many years, my dear friend at Tech Republic. Now you've been moved upstairs. Is that right?
Yes, it's CNET now, which is great.
Is CNET upstairs from Tech Republic?
I mean, it's obviously it's a much bigger brand, right? It's like 10x the size of the brand.
It was all owned by ZDNet.
Actually, it was opposite. CNET bought ZDNet and Tech Republic.
Okay, so you were originally ZDNet. You got bought by CNET, which then got bought by the bigger fish, which is Verizon, right?
So CBS. First it was CBS, and then CBS recently in
got bought by Red Ventures. No, I'm confused.
By Red Ventures.
Oh, you're Red Ventures
right.
now.
You got it.
Okay.
That's right.
So Red Ventures bought ZDNet, CNET, all the CBS Interactive properties.
That's correct.
It's very confusing. So sometimes we have people on, like when Devendra Hardawar from Engadget's on, he has to say, well, I can't talk about that. I work for Verizon. But right. I don't think we have to worry about a conflict of interest with Red Ventures. I don't think there's anything.
No.
Okay.
No. No corporate parent that is, connected with any tech company.
Perfect.
So there you go.
I love that. Here's another guy that used to work for CBS. Larry Magid is here. He's now Mr. Are you still at the BBC, at the Beeb?
Yeah, I do occasional stuff. But the problem was that they wanted exclusivity for global television. And I can make more money doing reports for Al Jazeera. And so I told them I would. So I go on their air once in a while, but more like a freelance analyst.
I love this. I'm going to start saying Al Jazeera's Larry Magid.
No, don't do that.
That'll win you friends.
I mean, I'm not ashamed of it. It's actually
Al
Jazeera are surprisingly good. They're
very good. Shouldn't be surprised.
Not my brand.
Yeah.
My brand is now Connect Safely.
ConnectSafely.org.
That's right.
Been there did you start it? You were one of the founders.
I co-founded it in 2005, and it's grown. And actually, we had a good 2020, surprisingly, and we're doing fine. So
I have been for the last 40 years, I think, a subscriber to Consumer Reports. In fact, I have to say Consumer Reports influenced very much how I do my tech coverage. For one thing, they don't take ads, and they buy the products they review. Now, I still have to take ads. I tried not to, but it didn't work. But I do try to buy the products we review. And I was really thrilled the other day. I got an email from Nicholas De Leon, who is their senior electronics reporter, to talk about something we'd had on an earlier show. And I said, Nicholas, I'm a long-time subscriber and member. I love Consumer Union, the parent organization. Come on the show. And he and his brick wall have agreed. Welcome.
Yes.
It's great to have you,
Hello.
Nicholas.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Leo. It's funny you say that CR has kind of inspired you. I am a big fan of yours going back, way back. I am not exaggerating when I say that Call for Help back in the day was appointment viewing for me. So this is really quite
now
neat,
I'm feeling old. Now I'm feeling old. Call for Help was one of two shows I did on Tech TV, and that was the one that got saved by the Canada's Tech TV, and kept doing it up there in Toronto for a while. So it's nice to meet you, Nicholas. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
I got to start with this story because it's just crazy. We've been talking a lot about NFTs of late, non-fungible tokens, and which are in some weird way related to cryptocurrencies and in some weird way related to blockchain. In fact, we've had many explainers over the last 3 weeks, and I still don't really get it. We in fact had Trey Ratcliffe, the very talented photographer, on Wednesday on This Week in Google, because he's doing some NFTs of his work. And I thought, well, maybe he can explain it. No one can explain it. And then the other shoe dropped. This week at Christie's, which is the big auction site for art, a creator of art named Beeple sold one of his JPEGs. It's a digital creation for $69 million. Is it dollars or is it crypto? Well, it's worth $69 million, whatever it is. It is the third largest price paid for a living artist. Beeple is up there now with Jeff Koons and David Hockney. 69. Now, to be fair, $9.3 million went to Christie's, which immediately, I'm sure, turned the Ethereum into American cold hard cash. 60 million of it was bid by an anonymous bidder using a pseudonym, although we think we now know who it is, and I'll explain that in just a second. $60 million. What did you get for the $60 million? Did you get something you can hang on your wall? No. What did you get? You didn't even get the JPEG. I guess you could have the JPEG. You got an address which would give you this JPEG, which, by the way, consists of 5,000 images that Beeple has taken. He does a daily art image over the last, since 2007, whatever that is, 14 years. So, I mean, it's, it's kind of the collected works of Beeple. But you don't even really get anything except a thing that says you own it. It can be infinitely reproduced. You can print it. Anybody can print it, but you own it. Only you can own it, and that's affirmed on the blockchain. $60 million. Now, the guy who bought it uses the name Metakovan, but Amy Castor, who I don't know from Adam, but wrote in the blog, and it convinced me that in fact is a crypto entrepreneur who's been on the scene for about 7 years, named Vignesh Sundarasan. And furthermore, Amy Castor kind of explained for the first time to me what's really going on here. So it wasn't Metakovan's own Ethereum that he spent. In effect, he created another crypto bundle called B.20, bought the painting with that, and is selling shares, bits, fractional portions of the Beeple artwork to other people. In other words, step 3, profit. He owns 59% of B.20. Notice who else owns it. Beeple owns a 2% stake. So in effect, Beeple bought his own painting, or part of his own painting, Not that there's any conflict of interest there, or is there? But really, I think if in your mind there is some question, and I'll ask you guys now to comment, but if there in your mind is some question about what the hell how could a JPEG be worth $69.3 million, and why would somebody named Metakovan spend that kind of money on a JPEG? It now becomes clear he's going to make money on it because he's in effect selling shares in this to other people.
Why would anybody buy a share of the JPEG? What would you do with? I mean, as absurd as the whole thing is, the idea of owning a piece of it is even harder for me to get my head around.
Well, I guess I could liken it to a Hannes Wagner baseball card, which is, on the face of it, a piece of cardboard that's worth absolutely nothing. Except it isn't. It's worth $3 million.
Right. Yep.
Because there's only 9 of them. And I would bet you most of the people who have Hannes Wagner cards really weren't Pittsburgh Pirates fans in the 20s. That wasn't what got them to buy that card. They bought that card because they presumed it would go up in value.
Yeah.
Right? It's speculation.
Is this the Beanie Babies of our generation?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, if anybody wants to buy my daughter's Beanie Babies,
Right.
I have a large collection. I never, unfortunately, I'd bring them home and I'd say, "Don't open that. It's worth money." She'd open it, play with it. You've ruined it. You've destroyed it.
Take photos of them and turn them into NFTs.
Have you had occasion to explain, Nicholas, to friends and family members what the hell's going on here? And if you have, what words do you use?
Right. Well, no, I have pitched this story to CR. It is a little obscure. Well, it was until this past
Not
week.
obscure. $69 million.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
It's worth more than a
I started pitching this NFT stuff maybe about a month ago because I am sort of fascinated by all this cryptocurrency stuff. But yeah, I guess my sort of take is when people ask, friends, families, like, I don't get it. Why would you pay $69 million for a JPEG? It's like, that's fine, sure. But like, I'm not big into, but I'm inside the NBA Top Shop Discord all day, and there are like thousands of people in there who
have
are
you
excited.
purchased any NBA highlights?
Yes, I'm $10 worth. I haven't even opened the pack yet, to be honest.
What do you get? Oh, I'm really curious. They've spent, by the way, they've sold $200 million worth of NBA highlights. This is the NBA.
Doesn't even shock them. Yeah.
Does some of that money go to the players in the highlight?
I have no idea, to be honest. I don't know the
$200 million.
That. But I kind of liken it to like digital trading cards. It's like it's no different than if I were to play, Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone for World of Warcraft. It's like, oh, I get this card. I think it almost might also be an age thing too, where it's like to a kid, having an NBA highlight on his phone that he could show his friends and that he could say, I own this.
Right.
Whatever that means, it doesn't actually really matter. His friends are impressed by it. He feels cool that he owns it, quote unquote.
Which highlight did you buy? I'm curious, Nicholas.
I didn't even open the packet, to be honest.
You don't even know what you got.
I hope it's a good one, I guess. But yeah, like if kids are into it, if they think it's neat, it's like, I don't know why do I have to like outsmart that kid? He's having fun. He's, that's fine. That seems okay to me.
Right.
So that's how I try to explain it to people. It's like, it is very weird. It's kind of odd, $69 million. Maybe there's some like greater scheme behind it.
There is a scheme, actually. In this case, there is, absolutely.
And this sort of goes back to, there was CryptoKitties in 2017.
Yeah, it's just like CryptoKitties.
Trading digital cats.
CryptoKitties is still around, by the way. You could
it's
still
all
buy.
very interesting, and it's all like what's very interesting to me about all this NFT. It's happening now. This is like literally happening in real time. I can go into the NBA Top Shop Discord and see this like unfurling before my eyes.
So what are they in there? Do they say like, anybody want a? I don't know what.
It's everything.
Michael Jordan, nothing but net 3-pointer. Anybody want that? I got it from the 1967. Whatever. So is that kind of stuff? Is that the kind of dialogue?
It's that type of stuff. There's technical complaints. People saying, why does it take so long for it to come? People complaining about bots.
When it comes, what comes? Does something come in the mail?
You go to the website and you go to the little section of the website, and then you get like a digital card pack. Like like you said a second ago, you're buying like trading cards.
Right.
It's kind of virtual trading cards.
Oh, so you were able to buy it sight unseen. You don't know what you got.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm going to open the pack.
Is this
if
a
I had the
limited
computer
edition?
configured,
Do you own it? Or
live.
no one
Uh,
else can have that. You have an exclusive access
I have
to
a
this?
lot. This is where it does get sort of interesting. It's like I don't own the NBA owns this. This is the NBA's like intellectual property. I think at most you can say is that I have a license to say that this particular instance of this LeBron James play belongs to me. Is that worth $1,000 to me? I don't know, but to the guy who bought it, I guess it is because he paid $1,000 for it.
But belongs is an interesting word.
Right.
Yeah.
Belongs
Yes.
is, so for instance, here's a perfect replication of a Honus Wagner $3 million worth baseball card. I could print this out, put it on a piece of cardboard, I'd have it. It's not worth $3 million because it's not real. So one of the things that happens with NFTs is there is authentication. You can say with authority, this is signed by the NBA. I own whatever this is that I own.
Right. It's sort of likened to like a digital autograph where you could say, okay, this, of course you could just take a screenshot and share it, put it on Twitter, who cares, or whatever the case may be. But this has been kind of authenticated. This has been blessed by, this is digitally signed or autographed. It's imbued with like special characteristics that people get a kick out of. And that's kind of where we are. And people are trying to, wrap their heads around like, I don't understand. Why would you even care? It's a valid question, but people do. And I don't know, it's kind of neat, I guess.
I love the word imbued. It's like, yeah. And that boot was imbued with magic by Harry Potter. It's just, it's like that. It's imbued in that sense. Well, I'm honored to know that you would spend $5 on an NBA Top Shot.
I think it was 10.
10. Well, all right. Let's be fair.
And I haven't even. I hope they're good. I'm a very casual NBA fan at best, so we'll see.
Oh, if you get Steph Curry 3-pointer, I'll buy it for 20. You've doubled your money.
I'll consider it. There's a marketplace, so maybe you'll have to bid with other. Maybe there's a a scramble for that.
Yeah,
card,
if you were smart.
That's kind of the other part of the appeal of it is like, do you own it? Who do you, that's a little hazy, but you do have the right to kind of flip it where it's like, okay, I've got this LeBron James or Steph Curry play. I'll put it on the NBA Top Shot marketplace and someone else can buy it. If I paid, let's say $100 for it and this person wants to pay $500 for it. Well, now I've just made $400. So there is that kind of speculative get rich quick. And it does feel very, very young. It does feel like a lot of like kids are into this. Where there's kind of that like flipping culture, or
they were the people who bought GameStop 2 months ago.
Oh yes, it feels like there's a lot of overlap between that type of person who get rich quick. This is kind of fun, weird internet stuff. Right. Which is probably why you struggle to see kind of like mainstream outlets explain what this is, because this is like weird internet culture, young people doing stuff that we don't quite understand.
You just don't get it, man. You're too old to get it, man. Jason, does this remind you of ICOs and other kind of blockchain related thing? I mean, ICOs kind of got in trouble. Remember initial coin offerings?
It's true. Yeah. Yep. I think it has more legs than ICOs. I think that in this case, this is trying to solve a problem. So the web as we know it was not built for privacy, was not built for, exclusivity. Like when we look at a web page, when we look at an image or a video, we're not looking at the original, right? It's always copies. We're constantly downloading copies. That's how the web was architected. And so that has a number of challenges around transferring value. So that's why blockchain came along and Bitcoin. And this is a similar phenomenon because in the real world, if you have, if someone owns the Mona Lisa, the Louvre in France owns the Mona Lisa, there are copies of the Mona Lisa everywhere, right? You can buy them very cheaply, but there is only one, and it is, it exists there. You have to go there to see it. People go and pay a lot of money to go all the way to France and then to, go to the Louvre, and they want to see that one, even though it looks just like, as a matter of fact, the ones that you've seen 1,000 other places, right? Why is that?
Right.
because people place a certain value on the one of a kindness of it.
Right.
And this is the digital version of that one of a kindness using cryptography, using blockchain technology to create this one of a kindness around digital assets. And so just as you said, there's certain types of valuable, the non-fungible. Fungible is a word we don't use very often, but fungible just means like transferable, right? So a fungible asset is like my $20 bill and your $20 bill, Leo. They're worth the same. We could switch them, and the value is exactly the same. But that's a fungible asset. A non-fungible asset is one where I have a Beanie Baby and you have the Beanie Babies, and mine's worth $5 and yours is worth $500, or my baseball card's worth 20 cents, and the one you've got the Honus Wagner, which is worth millions. And so, the value of these things is like anything, that they don't really have any intrinsic value other than, in some sense, supply and demand, but then also just how much people value them, and the value of those things changes over time. So I think it's just a big way of saying we're going to see lots of this. And I think we're at the very beginning, and it is going to be super interesting to watch. There's going to be people that make money. There's going to be people who lose a lot of money. One of the other things that we haven't talked about that's kind of interesting is the idea of selling digital real estate. And so if you remember, I'm sure everybody on this call remembers Second Life, right? There was like,
oh yeah,
remember Second Life?
Yeah.
Well, now there are other versions of that where, like Earth 2, so Earth2.io, one of my colleagues was telling me about this week, where you can go and literally buy property in Earth 2. And the interesting thing is, even people are buying all kinds of things on there, and it's even just in the past few months, the base value is doubled. It used to be $25 per kind of block. Like to buy my house in my yard is like 4 blocks. So now it's $50 per block. So it would cost me $200 to buy my house, essentially, in Earth 2. And anybody can go on there and do it. And people are already buying, stadiums and famous, landmarks and all this. I was like, well, you know what? I'll go in there and I'll buy the shopping center. There's like this one really nice shopping center, shopping area here in Louisville, where I am. And I was like, well, I'll get that, because that could actually, if this ends up taking off, it can be worth value. It would be like $30,000 for me to buy.
It's like playing Monopoly. Okay. It's like Monopoly, Boardwalk and Park Place, right?
It's right. It's right. Yeah. So it's really interesting to look at this phenomenon.
Visit your shopping center?
Yeah. Exactly, in your shopping center.
It really does. What it does is makes you think about, well, what do these words mean? Belong, and ownership, and tangible versus intangible, fungible versus. What do these words mean? And why do we ascribe value to some things and others? Larry, I think our generation looks at this and says, "No, I don't want to even think about it. This is you crazy kids, because it's nuts."
If you talk about it, I have a record collection. I used to buy records. Now, I didn't own the copyright to, the Rubber
But you
Soul
owned the
album.
vinyl.
I owned the vinyl. Now, I can't remember the last time I paid money. I just pay my $10 a month to Spotify and get all my music. But does that devalue the music because you don't have to go out? It certainly devalues it in my mind, in a sense. I remember when, it was a lot of money at the time. I would save up my money as a teen.
Ironically,
buy these albums. And
music has become
them.
Fungible.
Yeah.
Ironically.
But the other thing is, if you think about diamonds, why are diamonds so expensive? They're rare.
That's made up.
Rare?
It's completely made up. There is an industrial value to diamonts, but it turns out synthetic diamonds are just as, in fact, maybe even more so industrially.
That's what I figured.
Who's
Sorry,
talking?
Siri.
Siri said, "That's what I figured." Okay, Siri.
I don't know.
Siri has an opinion on this, apparently. That's in fact, of course, as we know, De Beers worked very hard to create artificial scarcity, so that diamonds would be worth something.
And of course, I have artwork I have some signed prints. One of 20, one of 100, and you have to trust that the artist doesn't actually run off more, because there's who would know, but there's always been a market in that. In print,
it is tempting for a certain generation, and I'll put Larry and me in that generation, to say, "Oh, this is just those crazy digital kids.
Yeah,
this has nothing to do with a real work and a dollar's pay for a dollar's work and all that." And
Get off my virtual.
Get off my virtual. And yet, frankly, money has always been this way. Money's made up. A dollar bill has no intrinsic value. It's only because we say it does.
That to me is also what's sorry to cut you. It's also that it's connected to blockchain and all these cryptocurrencies. You know, we've had, you know, Bitcoin has been around roughly for 10 years and sort of like mainstream news coverage. And you know, why is that worth anything? Why? Well, because people have decided that it's worth something,
right?
And if you try to have a conversation with someone who refuses to like meet you halfway and be like, well, I don't get it. This is weird. It's like, okay, that's fine. But some number of people have decided that Bitcoin is worth roughly $60,000 today.
That's what's amazing.
There you go.
It's gone up. In fact, I laughed when Elon Musk's Tesla bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. They made $1 billion on that investment already. If they sold today, the question is it going up more or is it going to plummet and no one knows because it's pure speculation. It's tulip bulbs.
But don't you feel like an idiot if you didn't buy in early and you see all these people making hundreds of millions of dollars on small investments? And
I think that's actually what's going on is that a lot of this money that's floating around for NFTs is Bitcoin billionaires, people who made, and there are many who made a lot of money on Bitcoin out of pure luck. I mean, really, and they need something else to invest in, and so they're buying NFTs. I just feel like the bubble will burst at some point, but maybe not. I mean,
you know, it's interesting. PayPal is now selling crypto. I noticed that accidentally the other day. I went onto PayPal to pay somebody some money, and there was a crypto link, and I clicked on it. And I have never bought crypto before, but because they made it so easy, I dabbled. I mean, I didn't buy enough that if I lose the money, I'm gonna sweat over it. But now it's tempting every time I go on PayPal.
It's very tempting.
To buy a little more crypto.
Because there are people who have Bitcoin that cost them, you know, $5. It's now worth $500,000.
Yeah. Mine's gone up by a few pennies since I bought it last night. I mean, it's kind of funny. You can actually watch it go up and down in almost real time.
I'm just checking Jack Dorsey's first tweet, which he tweeted March 21st, 2006. Almost exactly 15 years ago. It'll be 15 years ago when this auction ends. Currently, $2.5 million is the bid, and there's a little. As you can see, there's a bidding war. The second highest bid is kind of interesting. Justin Suntron, he is the creator of the Tron Bitcoin currency. He was also bidding for Beeple's $60 million painting. And in fact, Justin Sun was pissed off. He said, I bid with 30 seconds left. I upped my bid to $70 million, but Christie's didn't accept it, even though there was 20 seconds left. So he thinks he should have won. That he might look back on this and say, "Whew, what?" But he could still get in on the. I imagine this Jack Dorsey tweet, which will continue. The auction will continue, I think, through the 21st. I bet you now, after that $60 million Christie's auction, this will go up by quite a bit.
And what do you do with this tweet once you own it?
Nothing. It's nothing. You sell it. If you're lucky, you sell it.
You sell it, yeah.
I mean,
well, it's a Honus Wagner,
it's
essentially.
What I mean, if you own that baseball card or you own that Beanie Baby, I guess you could take it out and look at it once in a while. Right. Although you probably shouldn't, because every time you do, you're reducing the value. Really, what you should do is put it in a safe and then wait till somebody offers you more, and then you sell it to them. So all these guys are doing is eliminating the stuff in the safe. It's in a better safe.
What's the value? Is your ability to say you own it, right? Just as what's the value of you having a Honus Wagner? Is you to be able to tell other people who actually care about such a thing that you own a Honus Wagner.
In the case of Metakovan, who bought the Beeple.
Yeah.
What a world we live in. The value to him is what the shares he can sell. And if he can share more shares than he's put into it, then the value to him is real money.
I would be embarrassed to tell somebody that I own a multi-million-dollar piece of digital real estate which has no intrinsic value. I mean, I don't know. I would just seem like the
people bought moon real estate, right? Yeah. People bought real estate on Mars.
There eventually.
People also buy. They name stars after their, name stars after their relatives, and
you really don't
Which
get
is a
anything.
scam. That's a complete scam. But yeah,
There is also, and there's a debate going on, but there is also a societal cost to this because these cryptocurrencies use a lot of energy. And a lot of what this speculation is going on is, and there's a big debate over this. I bet you, your Discord, your Top Shots Discord, they might even discuss it there. There's a lot of energy wasted on calculating with proofs of work and proof of stake stuff in these transactions.
I'm not sure that I've seen a lot of debate about.
No, they're not. They're not debating.
And it's
on
always
that.
it's an understandable question, and we should be talking about. But I mean, I would love to read that story. Talking to the kids who are buying Top Shots, talking to the kids who are buying NFTs. What does that actually enter your mind when you're purchasing this? The vast energy cost. I don't know that I've actually seen that interview, but I've seen those concerns, and those are valid concerns. But you have to ask the person doing the purchasing, do you care? And the kids in the Top Shot room, I have not seen that brought up.
Then bring it up. They probably don't want to think about it.
So I have a question. So if I own a bar of gold and I have it in a safe, and as long as the safe isn't broken into and the building doesn't burn down, that bar of gold isn't going anywhere. Power failures, you name it. Is there a way you could lose this? I mean, what if these machines, if we have an energy crisis and we can no longer continue to invest this energy into Bitcoin and in a current, does it go away? I mean, is there some risk we could lose it?
Well, there's no tangible Bitcoin. All there is the blockchain. Now, NFTs are done in Ethereum, so it is somewhat different from Bitcoin. But Bitcoin, when you have a Bitcoin wallet, the first thing you do is you download the blockchain, which at this point is well over 100 gigabytes worth of data. And the blockchain contains every transaction from the moment Satoshi Nakamoto launched this thing to the moment you opened the wallet. That's every transaction, including all the transactions you've made, but all the transactions everyone's made. So every single person who has a Bitcoin wallet has a copy of that blockchain. You can prune it. There's exceptions to that, but in effect, that blockchain that's the whole point. It is a ledger of transactions that has no it's not centralized. It's not kept by a bank. It's not kept by a federal reserve. It's kept by everybody who uses this. And so as a result, I think they would argue it's more safe than if you had a gold in the safe deposit vault.
Yeah, so my copy is valuable. I mean, that's what I use to validate my ownership. Yeah.
That's right. The security and the cryptography is really the trust, right? So this is decentralized trust. A lot of trust, the trust in the US dollar is essentially trust in the U.S. government, and that the U.S. government will not fail, and that if there is some kind of crash or something, that the U.S. government is backing the dollar, right? That trust is in institutions today. Same thing with banks. Banks are stores of trust more than they are stores of value. You put money and value there because you trust they will be there, and that if you put it there, you'll be able to get it back. And it's the same way. That's the intrinsic value of Bitcoin, is that it is the most secure of these cryptocurrencies, or that it is going to be there if you place value in it. And obviously the thing that is a question is that value has been really volatile, right? It fluctuates greatly, and that will eventually even out, likely, as there are more larger institutions that put more in it. But it's really a trust game, and decentralizing trust. Bitcoin came out after the bank bailouts of 2009, and the sort of the failures that happened in the system, and it is trying to address that. But I do want to address one other thing, is like this power issue, because I feel like this is the media brings this issue up again and again without very much context at all. I feel like this is a lot of FUD being driven by probably banking industry people, because the banks use way more power than what Bitcoin does. And the banks are using dirty power in most cases. And a lot of these, Bitcoin things are run off of much cleaner forms of energy, and they use far less energy than these the dirty energy that all these bank data centers are run off of. And even if I think there's some accounts out there that even if Bitcoin itself were to mature by more than 100 times its current size, it still would only equal 2% of all energy consumption, right? So there's a lot of a sort of false narrative out there about this power issue, and I feel like it's getting propagated. I don't know this, but I do feel like a lot of it gets propagated by the people who have a lot to lose, because there are a lot of institutions that have a lot to lose if Bitcoin starts to replace fiat currency over the next 5 to 10 years, which it is likely to do. Fiat currencies as well as gold as a store of value.
That's a really interesting point.
Anybody know what this is? You recognize this, Leo?
Yes, I do.
It's called a bank book.
Yeah. When you would put money in your savings account, the teller would write in there your deposit. That's your ledger right there.
In 1982, I had $500 worth of value. Now, the sad part is this bank has gone out of business.
Oh.
And I have no idea what this $500 would be worth today if I could actually collect it.
Wow.
And the state of Massachusetts has no record of it, unfortunately.
Oh, dear.
But that's the bad news. But the good news is that it is written down in black and white.
I love it that you have your bank book still, your savings book.
I still have it.
Awesome.
Well,
Do they do that? They don't do that anymore, do they?
Oh, God, no. No, what I do, and this, call me paranoid. So here's my folder of all my savings. So I can use, where is that? Savings account. You can't see it. Anyway, because I do worry that one day I'm going to log into my checking account or my investment account, and that money that I know is there for whatever reason won't show up.
Well, but see, and this is why us oldsters don't want to think about this, because the truth is that money isn't there.
Of course, yeah.
There's no money anywhere. That's bits.
There's a record of it.
There's a record of it is all that exists. Yeah. And it's a record that is probably less reliable than blockchain. Your bank book's proof of that. That bank book has a record that you have $500. Good luck finding it. Yeah. If it were on the blockchain, at least you'd be able to claim it. So I think that one of the problems with this is it raises issues that make people not want to. I mean, I do think there's an energy issue. I agree with you, Jason. It could be that it's cleaner energy. There's a very good article by Everest Pipkin on Medium where he claims that Ethereum, which has always supposedly been moving to the more ecologically friendly proof of stake, hasn't yet, never will. It's kind of one of those someday things, but it uses, I think, 24 terawatts of power a year. University of New Mexico study estimated about 50 cents in ecological damage for every dollar of Bitcoin generated. That's half. So I think that you could say that there is a consequence to this. Maybe it isn't a problem, but it's got to be something to be thought about. And it is.
But I think it's the same. So I'm sorry, Leo.
You're right. The banks are also dirty. I agree. I mean,
and you have to apply it equally, I think, though. If it's like, I understand, like, we should be very responsible about the way we use power, and we should be always looking for ways to make it more efficient.
Yeah.
But, we have to apply the same thing, like the ways that we have to apply it to say, every time you buy a new car, here's how much energy you are
including an electric
draining
car
from the system.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I just bought a new electric car, and of course, it's ridiculous. Personal ownership of automobiles is economically horrific. They get used, maybe 1/10 or 1/20th of the time. Yeah. They just sit there for most of the time. There's no good economic justification for that. So I think you're right, Jason, in the sense that all this crypto stuff is just new, and so it's ecologically devastating, but the familiar ecologically devastating stuff that we do every single day, we go, well, that's life. That's normal.
Right. It's just how much water I use every, day in our house. We don't think about the impact of that, right? Or the fact that we, are recycling, but we don't have any place to send that recycling to. China is not buying our recycling anymore. So really most of that's actually going in the trash. So we feel good about recycling, but it's really not
doing
having
anything. Yeah.
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 So there are all.
You're the kind of person nobody invites to a party, by the way. Stop telling us. No, that's no good. Don't mention that. Nobody wants to know that. No, actually, I think to me, that's why this whole thing is interesting. It challenges a lot of our accepted notions of what belonging is, what value is, what environmental, protection is.
That's why I love it too. I have friends, talking to Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, they just refuse to get it. They don't, $1 you can hold, I can go to the store, I can buy a cup of coffee. It's real to them, but they refuse to accept that the reason why that's real is because a certain, quorum of people have decided that it is real and we use it and we run with it. Yeah. But why can't we decide that Bitcoin is worth something or Ethereum or bunny coins or whatever the heck it is?
Or NBA Top Shot highlights. Yeah.
That to me is super interesting. That debate or that processing that we all do. Zooming out, what is actually happening here and how do we think about this stuff?
It's truly fascinating. And as I said, I don't think people of my age or Larry's age really want to think about the fact that we're hoping to retire on something that is really just bits poorly kept in some bank's ledger. There is no, I think that's why there was for a long time. Let's get back to the gold standard, as if somehow tying the dollar to gold would somehow make it real, make it tangible, make it something. But it's not. It's just another thing. And the industrial value of gold is nowhere near the what is it, $3,500 an ounce.
So as you know, Leo, I bought a Tesla a couple of years ago. And the Tesla is worth, according to now Kelley Blue Book, I spent about $60 for it. It's worth about $36 now. But $10,000 of that value is software, is the autopilot, the full self-driving software, which has actually no value because Tesla can recreate it anytime they want. And so, the idea that something a third of the value of my car is something completely intangible.
Yeah. Basically, you bought a golf cart that had the gloss of Elon Musk. It was imbued with the magic of Musk. And I bought one too, by the way. I got a Model X. I would spend a lot more than that.
And he claims it's going to go up in value, which is absurd because they keep going down in value.
Well, but the thing is, you also, that was a little bit of speculation too, Larry, and maybe some wise one, because there's by some of the analysts' estimates, Tesla has somewhere between, depending on who you believe, that 30% to 45% chance of getting this self-driving piece right. They're literally 5 years ahead of everybody else because they have so much data because they've had the feature out there longer and all the users are beta testers. But if they do get that right, then that value of that 10,000 that you put in that is probably worth closer to $50,000 because
unless Musk decides to lower the cost, which he could do on a whim. Right? Sure. It's up to him.
But I knew, I knew every moment of the way that I was wasting my money when I bought the biohazard protection mechanism, aka HEPA filter in the car. And it has the biohazard logo on it. But I knew that, but I wanted, and this is the intangible you're talking about, Jason. I wanted to support Elon Musk's mission to electrify cars. Yeah. I knew I was contributing to that it was a donation, not a purchase of value.
It was a transfer of value that you felt good about.
Yes.
And that's,
for me, it was tuition on my college education about autonomous driving. I know more about autonomous driving, even though my car is barely level 2, than I would have known had I not owned a Tesla.
That's a good rationale.
Are you in the beta? That is a good rationale.
I don't know how to get in the beta. I mean, he said you can join the beta, but he never told you how to sign up for it.
Yeah, it's one of those don't call us, we'll call you kind of things.
And I'd call my friend in the PR department, but they laid her and everybody else in the PR department off.
They got rid of the whole PR department. That's right.
We don't need a PR department. We got Elon's Twitter. That's all we need. That's all anybody needs.
That is their PR department.
Tweet to Elon. I'm sure he'd answer.
Let's take a little break before my mind is blown and I decide I can't ever retire. We have a fantastic panel. I'm so glad to add Nicholas De Leon to our list of, I hope, regulars on TWiT, Senior Electronics Reporter at Consumer Reports. It's really nice to have you on the show. Are you in New York?
Yes, I am.
All right. Where in New York?
I'm in the Hudson Valley of New York. Consumer Reports is based in Yonkers, which is about 30 minutes north of the city. And then I'm about another hour or so north of there.
My daughter went to Bard. I love that area.
Okay, are you anywhere near where Pete Seeger lived? during his lifetime?
I don't know where he lived.
He saved the Hudson River.
Hudson.
He lived on a sailboat for a long time, going up and down the
he
Hudson River to save it.
Right.
But you live in one of the most beautiful parts of America. It's just, I mean, there are many, but that's
it's typical suburbs, but it's okay. It's
we go up the river a little longer, Poughkeepsie, and
yeah.
That's very pretty area. Also, Larry Magid, who is, we're just going to say your affiliation is with connectsafely.org. I love your Kennedy bumper sticker that you got.
That is signed by JFK.
What?
I personally handed it to him when I was whatever age, 10 to 11, when he was running for president, when he was appearing in the San Fernando Valley, and he scribbled his name on it.
So you see, you don't need that authenticated because you were there. You know that's his signature.
Was there. What's it worth on the blockchain?
Who knows and who cares? It's what is it worth to you, and that is worth. It's priceless, right? I would imagine.
And if you look carefully, you can see a signature, but not from here.
Well, I have to say we have the best picture we've ever had from you, so that's probably been there the whole time. Every time you're on, but I finally see it, so that's great. That's awesome. Next to it, a typewriter.
That typewriter I actually learned to type on when I was a kid.
Wow,
that was my typewriter.
See,
and then you can see my camera.
I see your cameras.
Very
I just threw everything out. That's my mistake.
All the old stuff.
I never saved anything. What was I thinking? Also, Jason Heiner, my dear friend from now editorial director at CNET. Always a pleasure to see you. And you're in Louisville still, or no?
Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, sir.
Beautiful Louisville. I was talking the other day about the Louisville Slugger plant because I have a Louisville Slugger somebody gave me for our 100th anniversary, 100th TWiT, which we are well past now, and we're up to 800. But that has a giant Louisville Slugger out front, and I love that.
Yes. It's the largest bat in the world.
The biggest bat in the world. Our show, I love it. Great to have all three of you. Our show today brought to you by Forward Networks. This is a really cool technology. I got a little demo of it. Created by 4 Stanford PhD students. They said, we developed an empathy for the network operator. We felt so bad because running a network is this. It's a little bit of voodoo. It's a little bit of science. But the problem is there's a lot of mystery. When you run a network, there's stuff. That's why they draw the cloud as a puffy little cloud that stuff goes in and happens and then comes out. They wanted to reduce business risk by revolutionizing the way large networks are managed. 7 years ago, they founded Forward Networks, part of their work at Stanford, to apply principles of modern software to the network. So this software, Forward Networks delivers a digital twin of your network, completely accurate mathematical model in software. They have tools that go out, crawl the network, find every device. A couple of years ago, NASA had a problem because one of the engineers brought a Raspberry Pi in and put it on the network, and they couldn't figure out what was causing these issues. Well, if you had Forward Networks, you would see that Raspberry Pi immediately. It would be added to this digital twin, and you would know. Here's what you can do with this. You can verify that your network is configured to spec, that it's in compliance with policies, that it's behaving as intended. Even more important these days, before you make a change to the network, you can actually simulate it and predict the impact of that change across every possible traffic path. How many times have we heard stories about a network operator changing their BGP router tables and accidentally routing all internet traffic to a small town in Maine? It happens. Not with Forward Networks. The dashboard gives you key network insights with visualizations. If you're watching the video, you're seeing them that are easily consumable. They can be exported. You actually love it because you can show the board and your CEO what's going on in a way that everybody can get. But it's an always accurate network diagram with all the details about the topology of your environment. If you're a sysadmin, if you run a network, I know you want this. You can search. It's got a search. You could search network behavior, configuration, and state network-wide. It's got an intuitive and powerful search tool. You can perform end-to-end path analysis across your network on both on-prem and cloud infrastructure. You can proactively identify potential connectivity and security policy violations. This goes all the way to the endpoints. From your servers to the endpoints, they have this thing. Now, if you're a geek, you know about diffs, where you take 2 text files, you run a diff, and you know what the differences are. You can see how the edits are made. Forward Networks gives you behavioral diffs. side-by-side comparison in one quick view of what your network looks like now and what it's going to look like after you change these configuration files between any points in time. You'll get 50% faster resolution of network trouble tickets because you're not in mystery anymore. You'll get 90% faster fixes related to audit processes, 33% reduction in aborted network updates due to identified errors. Turn it off, oh my God. Imagine searching your network for what's causing the problems, and even better, predicting the problem before it happens. That's Forward Networks. Used by some of the biggest companies in the world. Telstra uses it in Australia. Bank of America, Verizon uses it. Goldman Sachs uses it. In fact, they loved it so much they led their Series C funding round. Mark Andreessen of Andreessen Horowitz, big fan. He was also in on the funding round, as was Threshold. $65 million round, a very successful round. I love the story about PayPal. That's a massive network. They were having troubles with their network. They thought about maybe we should build something. They really conceptualized something like Forward Networks. But when they found it, they said, oh, this is better than what we were going to do. They found all the trouble spots that saved them time and money. You need this thing. Get network automation and verification for your intent-based network with Forward Networks. Your business depends on it. There's an amazing demo. You've been seeing some of it if you're watching the video at forwardnetworks.com/twit. You got to play with this thing. And if you're not the decision maker in your business, just take your boss to forwardnetworks.com/twit. Say, I got to show you this. They've got a new podcast too you might want to check out. I love the name, Seeking Truth in Networking. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find that. forwardnetworks.com/twit. This is research that turned into something every network operator has to have. It's pretty amazing. Thank you, Forward Networks, for supporting TWiT. Apple has announced that the HomePod is gone. This is kind of, okay, I was skeptical 5 years ago when they announced the big $400 HomePod. And Matthew Panzarino, they take him into, we've got 50 anechoic chambers we built just to design this thing. We brought the best sound engineers in the world. This is the best speaker you can get for this size. They sold it like crazy. And just like I remember Steve Jobs coming on stage. Remember they sold the iPod Hi-Fi thing? And Steve Jobs said, I'm getting rid of all my high-end audio equipment. This sounds so good. They canceled that within a year, by the way. I hope Steve Jobs got his stereo back. I don't know. People liked the sound. To me, it wasn't even as good as the Google Home Max, which sold for about the same price. Now Apple's done so well with the mini version of this, the $100 version of this, they're just discontinuing it. Should we mourn the end of the HomePod? No. Did you review this at all, Nicholas, for CU?
I did not, but we did. And I think our assessment was similar to yours, where we thought the Google Home Max sounded better.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally bought the Mini for my father. He seems to like it. You know, he's a big Apple guy. He's got an iPad. He's got Apple Music. He loves his Siri. He's always asking, funny.
Oh yeah, if you like
Siri,
it's nice to have Siri in the house.
He seems to like it. I know these little speakers. I personally own the Sonos One. I think it sounds fine. I guess I'm not the most critical listener. It's funny. I saw a joke on Twitter a couple weeks ago that sound quality actually peaked in the 80s with the CD, and now we're listening to compressed
we
Spotify
don't care
streams.
anymore. It's true.
Right. People don't care.
We don't care. And for most people who grew up listening to those little white headphones coming out of the iPod to highly compressed, lossy music, the minis probably sound just as good as the HomePods. They
one
don't.
One reason I don't mourn the loss of the HomePod is that I have a little Echo, Dot or something which I bought for practically nothing.
$50 or $30. Yeah.
Hooked up to a very nice speaker system.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got ways to hook them up to nice speakers, so you don't have to buy a high-end smart speaker. You can buy a dumb one and hook it up to whatever you want to.
I feel like Apple's hype machine overhyped the HomePod. They would have saved themselves a lot of time and trouble if they only built half as many anechoic chambers and they didn't sell a $350 speaker, because people are happy with a $100 speaker. I have 5 minis. I have 2 HomePods. I'm an idiot. I also have a lot of Sonos gear, including that Sonos One. I would say that the the Google Home Max, which I also have, that big speaker, they discontinued as well. I think nobody's buying $400 or $300 speakers is the real problem.
Yeah.
This is the little thing you can buy from Amazon. It's a
look at that puck.
It doesn't have a speaker into it at all.
No.
They're like $20 or something.
Yeah, it gives you echo, all the echo capabilities.
But again, this is what I have hooked up to a fairly good speaker system.
Yeah,
it sounds great.
Yeah,
so.
No, that's all you need. And if you want good speakers, you buy good powered speakers, or even, I got good old-fashioned stereo speakers and hooked them up to an amplifier, and then I can hook all that stuff up into that. So yeah. There's
also some really good sound bars too. So I think that the death of this thing might be, there's a lot of CNET reviews a lot of these and has some good lists as well as reviews of some of them. Sonos has some great ones. Sonos has some really nice sound bars. If you want to do high-end audio, like this, you're better off just getting a sound bar, connecting it to your TV, and then you can also use it for this kind of high-end audio too, right? So this was it's a product without a market, or the market has gotten squeezed out because you're either going low end for $100 or less with a little puck, or if you're going to go with really better quality, higher end audio, you're probably just going to go with a sound bar. And there are great ones out there for great prices too.
Yeah, the Vizio soundbar starts at under $100.
Yep.
I like the little Apple AirPod Minis because I'm like your dad, Nicholas. I like Siri. Hello, Siri. No, I actually use it to AirPlay too. And to me, if you have iOS devices, AirPlay 2 is great. And having an AirPlay 2 device you can play to is very nice. But you don't need I guess they dropped the price to $250. I think Apple misunderstood the market. If you're a high-end audiophile, you're not going to buy a $300 speaker. And if you're not a high-end audiophile, you're not going to buy a $300 speaker.
Right.
So who's going to buy this thing? Nobody.
Yeah. And the market kind of changed out from under them, right? It went in two different directions. Lower cost for the the pucks, and then like I said, the people are doing really well selling these sound bars. That was one of the top selling items during the pandemic.
Really?
Was people were like, oh, I can hook up a sound bar to my system, keep the TV I've got, and get a much nicer experience. And that replaced, I think, a lot of what people that would have bought some of these HomePod, the high-end HomePod or the Google as well.
Where do you think the market's going, Jason, with voice assistants? It feels like it's kind of plateaued.
Yeah, so Amazon and Google are still selling more of these things. They are moving toward the screen-enabled ones, right? That's where they're putting most of their energy.
Yeah, Amazon now has an Echo Show that follows you around and watches you.
Yeah.
So that's like
that's creepy.
The Facebook product.
The Portal.
Well.
Yeah.
The Portal does it.
Portal. Yeah. So they're going in that direction. I mean, most users still are just like what Larry mentioned. Those pucks, they're much more interested in that. It's much more practical. You can put them wherever you want them. As you said, Leo, you can put them in different rooms. You can get 5 of them. The price is still pretty minimal, relatively. And so, that makes a lot more sense. But the software behind them has plateaued a bit. Like certainly that's where more work needs to be done. The hardware part has largely been solved, or at least it's not rapidly developing all of that much. But the software has a lot of work.
It's not going anywhere. Maybe I'm an outlier, but mostly I use it for timing cooking. Mm-hmm. Pretty much, right?
That's like top 5 for the most used things. Is
maybe I'll ask it to play music sometimes. Nicholas, do you use these, or is it just your dad?
Mostly him. I use my Sonos primarily to get the weather every now and then.
Your Sonos One has Echo built in, right?
It has and it has Google Assistant, and I have it hooked up to Google Assistant for whatever reason.
You have to choose one or the other, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So you chose Google Assistant. Okay.
Yeah.
I use it to turn the lights on. That's how I turn the lights off in my bedroom.
I have Hue lights, and I tell every time I go to bed, I say, Google, turn off the lights.
Yeah,
And
so
half
You
the
realize,
time it does.
Thousands of lights around the country just got turned off.
Half the time it does. No, I left out the hey. Or no, do you have to say the hey? No, you have to say okay. Yeah, I left the okay out.
All right.
I know, that would be funny, wouldn't it? I try. That's, by the way, I didn't tell you, Nicholas. We try not to use the A word for that very reason.
Sorry.
I call it echo. Although the poor people who've changed their keyword to echo are really hating us.
I had
right
to do
now.
that because I have an Echo in my living room and I have one in my kitchen, and there's actually no real wall between
They
them.
have different names.
So they have to have different names,
Yeah.
or otherwise my kitchen responds when I'm talking to my living room, or vice versa.
I feel like just to say what I use it for is very simple, and I think our readers as well. I don't think too many folks are doing very complicated. It's smart home stuff. It's cooking timers. It is Echo play this song.
Right. It's music
I think
and
it is
timers.
very basic stuff. Yeah.
Which is probably why this software is not evolving. I'd never seen this before. But apparently, Amazon put this online a couple of weeks ago. These day one editions. The idea is it's kind of like an Indiegogo for Echo devices. So Amazon is saying, here's 3 different concepts. All have Echo built in. One is a cuckoo clock. Really? One is a smart scale, which looks like a regular kitchen scale. I guess, though, you can ask Echo for nutrition info. I actually pre-ordered this one, the smart sticky note printer, because I'm an idiot.
Really?
Because I'm an idiot and I buy this crap. $88. But what it does is you can't. It doesn't have Echo in it, but you pair it to an Echo device. I have a clock paired to an Echo device as well, and then so you can say, Echo, print my shopping list, or Echo, and then you get a Post-it note.
Can you actually dictate a quick note?
I'll let you know when I get it. This one got funded. So this item is going to get built. It made its goal on day 3. Can't say as much for the cuckoo clock. The cuckoo clock is still they got to work a little more work to go. They're about halfway to their goal. This is actually smart. Amazon's getting all this consumer information, aren't they?
Yeah, clever.
$80 for the cuckoo clock. The smart scale is a little cheaper, $35.
I have a smart microwave, which isn't really that smart. But in theory, I can tell it to cook an egg, and it will do so, on command.
You have the Amazon Echo?
I have the Amazon, but I got rid of it because the problem with the Amazon one, it only has 700 watts of power.
It's tiny. It's a dinky
really
little
crappy microwave.
Yeah.
So I bought the Toshiba one, which has 1,200 watts, but the Echo and the Google Home interface don't work. They're supposed to. And I called them up, and they said, "Yeah, no, we have a bug, and we haven't fixed it yet." So
I bought 2 clocks that you could pair with Amazon. One paired, one never paired. And by the time I figured out it never was going to pair, it was too late to send it back. So
the same with my Toshiba microwave.
yeah, it's really annoying.
Fortunately, it's a good microwave.
Your readers are smart, Nicholas. They're smart enough not to get involved in this early adopter stuff. Do you think that CU readers are early adopters or no? Because of reports.
Probably. I'm probably the earliest adopter person in that building, to be honest.
You're the only guy who has an NFT baseball or
Are you
basketball.
saying that you and I are stupid? Is that what you're implying?
Yes, we're dumb.
Yeah. Okay.
We buy all this crap. I feel like such an idiot.
But there's a great responsibility. Like, I am an early adopter. I'm like, I buy a lot of this stuff because I think it's neat, basically, for no other reason. And I'm kind of like a beta tester for the readers. They're not going to run
that's
out
my
and
excuse
buy,
too.
I
have to buy
printer,
this.
but I might have it.
Honey, I have to buy it. It's my job.
Yes,
And
exactly.
then my poor wife can't figure out how to turn on the TV. She says, you can't die because I'll never be able to watch TV again.
My wife has the same problem.
Yeah, I got too many remotes.
My TV keeps crashing. It keeps rebooting. I have a TCL.
I see this
and I have it hooked up to a Vizio sound bar, and they work together, but for some reason they crash each other all the time. And it drives my wife crazy. Why do you have to reboot the television?
You should not have to reboot appliances.
Television. I know. It's true. I just got, for my mother-in-law, a TCL, and after 4 hours, it was turning off automatically. Yeah. And like the sleep timer wasn't on. And it was like, what's going on?
Oh, my mom had that problem with her TCL too. We're cheap. We're cheap because they're cheap Chinese TVs, but they have Roku built in.
They are good, and
they're very good. They're very inexpensive.
CNET told me to buy it. CNET gave it a high rating.
Uh-huh.
It's your fault.
It is. It's one of our highest rated.
I love them.
TVs. For
Mom
everybody.
has 2. I bought her 2. She's got one for the living room, one for the bedroom. But her bedroom one used to turn off, then it stopped. So maybe it'll just stop.
It's a bandwidth setting, apparently, which I just found this out today. I'm still
maybe we
working on
figured that out.
Interesting.
Now she's, it's so funny because she's 88. And it's actually good. It's a good practice for me because I'll be on FaceTime with Mom. I did that this on Monday. And I'm setting up the Apple TV so she can watch Showtime. And I recommend this, Nicholas. Find an older person and try to explain to them how the Apple remote works on the Apple TV. Impossible.
Oh,
Impossible.
Yeah.
Mom, it's a trackpad. It's just like the trackpad on your laptop, but it's a little one at the top of the remote control. There's nothing at the top. No, that's oh my God, the pain. The pain.
It's not a great remote. I had an Apple
Roku
TV,
is
one of the previous generations. It was fine. The device itself was fine, but that remote, something to be desired, I guess.
We are expecting a Apple event, not this Tuesday. The current consensus among people who make up Apple rumors is the 23rd. And there is a small but finite chance there will be a new Apple TV on the 23rd. And all anybody's hoping for is a decent remote control. They work once you learn how to use them. But I defy you to try to explain it to your mom or, my 88-year-old mom. She actually figured it out. To her
they could
credit.
double the total addressable market of that product with a better remote. Easily.
The real problem with that product is the same problem they had with a HomePod, which is it's $200.
It's not
Right.
And
Yeah,
a Roku
it's
is $30.
Yeah.
There's no
And better.
and it's better in many ways. Yeah.
Yeah. in some ways,
The
yeah.
Ultra. I still prefer the Apple TV. I have both Roku
I do too.
and Apple
I do
TV.
too.
I do still prefer it, even with the crazy remote. And there are a few good things about the remote, for sure. And we've written about that.
You can talk
you're
to
right,
it,
Leo.
but everybody does that now.
Yep.
Talk to the Roku,
But it is a challenge to do some simple things, and that sort of fails one of the primary
Mom,
tenets of consumer electronics.
Hold
right?
the trackpad down. What's the trackpad? The top out of the top. Press that down until the icon goes jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. What? Just do it. Press it and hold it to the icon. Okay, they're jiggling. Okay, now this is tricky.
Let go.
Let go, and then slowly move your finger up the trackpad, holding the thing, the jiggle, jiggle, jiggle to you, because I'm trying to get Showtime to the top of the icon row. That was probably my mistake. I should just have left it
dear.
there. I said, Mom, you can use this same technique to delete these, but I'll leave that for another day.
The worst thing is you should have been able to log into her Apple TV and do this
Siri
for her.
again.
Really?
Yeah, I was
I
about
can
to
log
say,
into your Apple
remote-
TV? I can do that?
No,
No, you
he's saying
can't.
there
But you should
should
be able to.
You should be able
They
to.
should make that a feature.
Yeah. I log into everything else of hers, but I can't log into that.
No, it's true. Yeah.
Apple suing a former employee for stealing lots of trade secrets. Simon Lancaster was in charge of, he was in charge of materials and like in the design team. It was a senior person at the Apple design team. He used his role, Apple says, to gain access to internal meetings and documents outside the scope of his job as materials lead at Apple. On his last day, November 1st, 2019, he allegedly, why do they always do this? Downloaded a substantial number of confidential Apple documents on the last day and then left and went to work for a startup. So now he's being sued.
Yeah. Ouch.
There's no really news there. I don't know why I brought that up. Just
We're lucky that Trump is tech illiterate, or he would have downloaded the entire federal database.
they were very worried. Remember that the former president had all that information.
Yeah, but he's too stupid to know how to do it.
I think he couldn't figure it out.
Right.
He said, "Hey, Barron, come here.
Right.
You know the cyber." That was completely gratuitous political comment on the part of Larry Magid.
Yep.
I apologize.
I don't work for CBS anymore. I can
You can
make
say anything
gratuitous
you want. That's
political comments
why.
I want now.
That's why.
They actually knew they had rules. You probably are familiar with that. They had rules about things like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
They still
yeah.
have rules. About
I
things
work.
like that.
I work for iHeartMedia, actually Premier Radio, which is their syndication division, the former syndicator of Rush Limbaugh. Right. So pretty much, there's no rules.
Yeah, right.
I can say anything I want. It's so funny. You know, people will send letters. Did you hear what that guy Leo said? And my boss at Premiere goes, yeah, sure. Whatever. Sometimes she'll send them along to me. You won't believe the email we got about you this time. And I don't say, you know, I'm doing a tech show. I don't get political. I don't say anything. It's very minor stuff. Google.
I'm still wondering what I'm like so curious now what Nicholas got from the NBA on his NFT.
Open it.
I'm waiting for
I could
open it.
Maybe in the background I could open it.
Let's do an unboxing.
Yeah.
Did you get a box?
I guess a digital box. Let me.
How can you do an unboxing of a digital box?
I don't know if I could show it on my screen. I can't share my screen. I probably could.
Yeah, you're on Zoom. You can share your screen with us. You got to make him the presenter on the Zoom thing, I think, John.
I'm waiting for the day now when like somebody does like a crazy dunk and like the kids are asking each other, is that dunk on the blockchain yet?
They've sold, like I said, $200 million of highlights. NBATopShot.com. You just did it for research, I'm sure, Nicholas, right?
I have a friend who is mega into it. And he's spending like hundreds of dollars. He's one of those speculators. And I was like, oh, that's, I had been reading about it.
So this is what you bought. You bought a pack. It is.
Yes.
It's just like baseball cards. Yeah. It's.
Yep.
And so Rising Star, which one did you get?
I pre-ordered just the base pack.
Pack.
That's the other thing is that, they release these things in tranches. It's like if you want like the fancy schmancy pack, well, you have to wait in line.
They're all
it's like
sold out now. Yeah. Look at that.
It's very interesting how they kind of
they're forever sold out, I presume.
They're so smart. Yeah, they're sold out forever. They're so smart because
they did say this shocked them. They sold way more than what they expected.
Yeah.
Whoa.
They were super surprised.
Okay, just a little tip. They look a little bit like condom wrappers. You might want to change the size of that, make it look more like baseball cards. But other than that, I would go for this one. Deck the Hoops, $230, sold out. So you just bought a base set. Did you get?
You don't actually get anything physical in the mail, do you? It's all.
No, you don't get this package or anything. This is that's what's hysterical about this. They make it look like you're going to get something. Well, you get a link, you get an email. What'd you get?
You get, and it's funny too because they make you wait in a queue. Like I was a couple weeks ago, I was in line with 150,000 other people trying to buy, one of these packs.
That's smart. You want to create this false sense of urgency and this scarcity, and
the folks in the Discord are like freaking out. They're like, "Oh my God, there's 100,000 people ahead of me. There's no way I'm getting." And you're waiting in this queue for hours, and you're just kind of like,
"That's hysterical."
Am I getting it?
And with the post
it
office being congested because of DeJoy, it took even longer for it to get to you, right?
Oh yeah, you didn't have to mail it. They don't mail it.
Yeah,
don't mail it.
I don't know. I have it. I don't know if I could open it live. I don't know.
You don't have to. That's all right.
All right.
I just thought it'd be good for our YouTube numbers if you did an unboxing.
Well, that's actually funny you bring that up because that is like a burgeoning
of course it is.
Piece of content, like people opening packs live and they have like hype videos, and it's actually quite clever, I guess.
If I were smart, I would have promoted this. I would have said, next week, Nicholas De Leon is coming on. He's going to open his pack. This is huge. I would have done 4 or 5 videos all week long building this up. See, I'm not good at this stuff.
He could have been the Geraldo of Rivera.
Oh, my God.
Are you talking about Al Capone's safe?
Exactly. Yeah,
which ended up having, nothing in it? It was like dust?
Nothing in it.
Nothing.
Wow.
There's always the risk.
I can save it for next time. I won't open it. Maybe we'll coordinate and I can open it live.
Well, I would understand. I don't know. Maybe there'll be something in there that I don't think there would be that would give away like your credit card number or something.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's just GIFs. Yeah.
But what happens if somebody offers you $10,000 for it between now and the next show?
It's okay.
I find that unlikely because it's a standard pack or it's a base pack, whatever they call it.
But only 5,000 other people have it.
Yeah. Probably not the best GIFs in this one, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Just so that we can prepare for this next time, give me the shock look that you do on YouTube, Nicholas. So like, oh my God, I just opened it. It's amazing. Give me that look. Come on. You can do it.
Oh my God.
No, come on. But yeah, there you go. There you go. Stick out your tongue. That's it.
And then I
Snap
get up and I run around and green screen
we
falls
got
over.
Yeah, we got it.
That's your
that's the thumbnail.
That's your thumbnail right now. Leo, you should make an NFT out of the first episode of TWiT.
I have them.
Right.
So I have.
guarantee you,
I would buy that.
somebody
You
will
want to say
buy
who would
it.
buy that? I
Somebody
would
will
buy
buy
that.
Would you buy it?
I might actually buy that. Yes.
I
I
can't-
remember where I was sitting where you guys recorded the first twit, actually. So
But what
Oh
would
my
that mean in terms
God.
of copyright? Would that mean that the person who bought it would own the copyright, or just
Well, we
what
don't
would you
copyright them.
actually
They're
own?
Creative
necessarily.
Commons. They're Creative
Yeah,
Commons.
not
We
necessarily.
don't do anything. It would basically be me signing it digitally, authenticating
That's right.
that this is the first episode of Twit.
We're letting somebody
I'll
in the
give it to
public
you.
own the first edition.
you.
So they own the one of a kind digital copy or the digital original essentially of it, and then all other versions are copies of it, right?
Except
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that because I don't really know if I have the original.
Well, it doesn't. So that's the thing, right?
It becomes the
Dorothy
original.
have the original tweet?
You designate
Where's the
one.
original?
No,
original,
there is. Yeah,
essentially.
where is it? So John has gone through our old hard drives, and he is actually he has this concept. John, I think, wants us to make money. Big mistake there, John. So he's given me a list. These are pre-show clips from 2008. Me and Paul Thurrott pre-show Windows Weekly. Me and Megan Maroney pre-show Jumping Monkeys. A live stream we did on building the ultimate game machine with Colleen Henry and Ryan Shrout. Security Now pre-show. These are all from 2008, from August 2008. And the Daily Giz Fizz from 2008. It's on here. So these are now, those are the originals. I just blessed them. So then what do? I don't know. I need Metakovan.
you have to tokenize them. Yeah.
To tokenize them.
Leo, I bet if you sold the first episode of Twit as an NFT,
Yeah.
and took the proceeds and put it in Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and held it for $10,
Yeah.
I bet you that would be worth $1 million.
I would lose
in
my
$10.
password, and I have 8 Bitcoin
No,
in a
you don't have
wallet.
to.
I have 8 Bitcoin right now in a wallet that I can't get into because I don't remember the password.
What's that worth?
That you got
Really?
from like Mount Gox back when it was.
No, when Bitcoin first started, I downloaded Bitcoin Core, like the software that
Yeah.
the Bitcoin Foundation had, and that created a wallet.
Yep.
And at some point, I was smart enough and dumb enough to password protect it, but not record the password.
Oh, so you've got it in cold storage, and
I
and
have
you
the
can't
wallet.dat file, and then
Yeah.
we put up a QR code with the account on the website as part of our tip jar, because for a while I think we still have a tip jar. I just no one knows where it is, and people gave me 1/10 of a Bitcoin or whatever, and it ended up being 7.85 Bitcoin. I know because I can see the wallet, and I know how much is in it. I know all the transactions, but I just can't unlock it. So what is that worth? That's $480,000 right now.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah, that's right.
It's amazing.
I'm an idiot.
Will you ever be able to recover that value?
Yeah. My feeling is if I had been able to unlock it at any time in the last 5 years, I would have sold it.
Right.
When Bitcoin was $100
Right.
bucks, I would have sold it. So all I've done is gain value. I figure not being able to sell it is the best thing that ever happened to me. And
If you were
And I-
applying for a loan, could you use that on your financial statement as part of your net
not if
worth?
you can't access it. So I'm figuring here's my plan. This is my long range plan. Someday quantum computers are going to happen, and there'll be a computer fast enough to crack this wallet.
To crack that password.
By then-
you're probably right.
Yeah, by then it'll be worth millions,
You're right.
maybe worth 100 million. So
Bitcoin is designed to go to a million a coin, right? Because a million, it's designed to be at that level of scale.
well, there's no
Because
limit to what it could be. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, because you can do fractional coins at any
Right.
infinitesimal fraction. And if it's worth $1 million, you can give somebody 1/1,000,000 of a Bitcoin. Absolutely, you can do it right now. So yeah. Meanwhile, I'm waiting to see what the IRS says. Is this income? Is this
Capital gains.
long-term capital gains? What the hell is it?
But only when
Yeah,
you sell.
there,
I think as
there
long as you're
are
holding it, it wouldn't be
startups.
taxed.
There are startups out there trying to help folks figure out their Bitcoin tax situation, because my sense, same thing with all the GameStop stuff. A lot of folks who are not experienced traders or have not really dealt with this stuff are just selling it and not setting aside taxes. So I do wonder, there was actually a story idea I wanted to do for CR. What are your tax liabilities if you've sold
good.
Bitcoin, if
Be
you've
good.
translated it into some other coin. I just don't think people know that is the case. Yeah, and all these exchanges, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Coinbase, all the the U.S. regulated ones, they will send you the tax forms come tax time, and they say, hey, there you go. Here's the info. You owe what you owe. Good luck. I don't know if folks are thinking about that.
I don't
Certainly,
even know how the IRS audits it. I mean, it's not like this is secret. If the IRS has your wallet, your account number, they know what you've got. The only thing keeping it private is the fact that your account number is not widely disseminated, although mine was, because we put it on the tip jar. And so there's a QR
I know.
code.
I just did my taxes literally last week, and they do ask you, do you own cryptocurrencies? And my understanding is that, they just want you to say yes or no. It's not like they're going to come after you and look into Nicholas De Leon's, it's not like I'm a cryptocurrency millionaire.
If they might. If they ever audited you, they might, right?
I assume the companies that are holding it are issuing 1099s, which is how the IRS would know.
Yes. Yes.
So you're on the hook. They're going to catch you.
If you do anything that is a taxable event, like if you just have Bitcoin in there and it's just sitting there, accruing value or losing value, as the case may be, there's no taxable event there. But the minute you sell it, boom, there you go. Now you've got a 1099. So,
right.
Yep. This is all fascinating. And it's, I just honestly, I've come up with a rationalization for why I can't get to the $500,000 I have in a Bitcoin wallet, and I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just waiting till it's worth $10 million, and then I'll crack it. Right? I'll buy myself.
It's the best thing that ever happened to you.
It's the best thing that ever happened.
Password.
It's the best thing. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have it.
You're exactly right.
Now, Steve Gibson is a little bit of a different story. When Bitcoin first started, he created a Bitcoin miner because he was curious, and the next morning he gets up, there's 50 Bitcoin kind of chunk came out of the miner.
Wow.
He has erased the hard drive. He's lost it forever. He can't recover it. So he just doesn't want to even think about it.
Wow. Yeah.
That's $4 million or something. What is it now? 2.4 million.
Yeah.
I wonder how many, given your audience, Leo, all this kind of Bitcoin stuff started, it was 10 years ago. If you were reading Slashdot, if you were reading Dig, any of these kind of like mainstream nerd tech sites like I was, you would have heard about Bitcoin. You may have been a gamer. You may have been mining. I wonder how many people out there in Radio Land have lost a password, have a hard drive crashed, or something, or who have been smart and have held onto it and now are sitting on a beach in Hawaii or something. But I bet your audience has some pretty interesting stories.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely Bitcoin millionaires and even billionaires out there, but there's also, I can't remember the number, but hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin that will be lost forever because people like me forgot the wallet or erased the hard drive, or it's a fascinating.
Some of the early ones got their Mt. Gox.
Or got ripped off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have been smart enough to put my money in Mt. Gox because, and then have lost it all. So whatever. Our show today, whatever. Our show today brought to you by Podium. Do you know about Podium? Podium is so cool. You might have even used Podium and not know it. You go to the dentist or you go to the local bagel store, and as you're leaving, you get a text message saying, thanks for visiting. Leave us a review. That's probably Podium. Podium gives your business, especially small businesses, local businesses, the messaging tools to turn your website into a thriving storefront. It is so cool, especially nowadays where, you're not going into a restaurant, you're going to and takeout. You're not, if you visit the dentist, it's a quick visit, you run and come and go. But with Podium, those local places can close the deal. They can make it easy to get paid contact-free via SMS, via text messages. With Podium Reviews, you can easily text customers to leave an online review, improving search ratings. And you know what's interesting about text messages? Unlike email, about 20% of emails get opened. So if you're using email to do this, you're, only getting to 1 in 5. 98% of text messages get opened. 98%. And the thing is, if you send somebody a coupon or you send them an invitation to come back, they're going to see that and they're going to welcome your text messages. Podium also offers web chat. You can put that on your website so visitors can text with your team. And your team will like it because those text messages on the website turn into text messages on their phone. Makes it easy for them to respond to it. You can meet with customers using Podium's video chat. anywhere, anytime. Get paid faster over text with Podium Payments. And then, of course, for you at the end, Podium Inbox brings it all together, keeps leads warm, responds to feedback. It's a great way to do customer feedback. Your business can easily set up Podium. It takes a day or less. Podium's got a full team in place to answer any questions, to walk you through the whole thing. I think this is any small business these days. It's a tough environment. Podium is here to help you encourage people to shop local, to communicate with your customers, communicate with your teammates without leaving home. It's a great way for small businesses to stay connected with their customers safely without the face-to-face. Podium is everything you need. And look at some of the people who use Podium. I mentioned dentistry. My local dentist uses it, but so does the South Tampa Family and Cosmetic Dentistry. They did exactly what my dentist did as customers are leaving. They ask, oh, don't forget to review us. They collected 1,200 reviews, averaging 4.9 stars. Dr. Wyatt there said the number of walk-ins as a result of our reviews has skyrocketed. Before, we might be seeing maybe 50 to 100 new patients a month. Now we're seeing closer to 200. The bridal collection uses Podium. Small store. Lynn, the owner, said, we don't have to take credit cards into the store. We could do it completely remotely. Podium has been a godsend for us in this journey. They've processed over $200,000 in no-contact payments. It's amazing. America's Car Mart used Podium to collect 21,000 leads through their web chat. TJ, who's in charge of the digital experience at America's Car Mart, said, before Podium, we'd had a contact us form. Remember those little animated mailbox? It could have been days before anybody got back to that customer. Because it's text messages now, it's easy. Our response time is cut down to minutes. I hope I've convinced you. This is a great platform for local businesses, for small businesses, even for big, large businesses. Podium can help you reach more customers, interact with them better, make more money, get more leads. Get started free today at Podium, podium.com/twit. Just go on over there, watch the demo, see what you can get. It's hard. This company does so many things. I told them this. I said, it's hard to tell everybody all the things you do. So go to the website, go to podium.com/twit, and see how it can help you. One account could really make a big difference in your business. Reviews, web chat, payments, feedback, customer support, team chat. It's all in there. It's all in Podium. Podium.com/twit. Thank you, Podium, for support. EFF article kind of got my attention. Remember last week or 2 weeks ago on Twit, we talked about the fact that Google has announced they're no longer going to use third-party cookies starting next year, nor are they going to invest in ad tech or tracking technologies. They know people don't want tracking. So what are they going to do instead? Well, they've introduced something with probably the worst name ever, the Federated Learning of Cohorts, or FLoC. The EFF says Google's FLoC is a terrible idea. No one should mourn the death of the cookie, they write, as we know it. For more than 2 decades, third-party cookie has been the linchpin in a shadowy, seedy, multi-billion-dollar advertising surveillance industry on the web. As I mentioned before, my friend Cory Doctorow says ad blockers and cookie blockers is the largest consumer boycott in history. So many people are using them now that they don't work anymore. So no wonder people like Google are saying, well, we didn't like those in the first place. Google's leading the charge, EFF writes, to replace third-party cookies with a new suite of technologies to target ads on the web. Notice they're not giving up ad targeting. Some of their proposals show it hasn't learned the right lesson from the ongoing backlash to the surveillance business model. It's a long article. I'm not going to summarize the whole thing, but the idea behind FLoC is instead of individual information about you, Google's going to create a cohort, a segment that you belong to, and tell advertisers. This is what Facebook does. Facebook never gave your information to advertisers, just said, we know men between the age of 25 and 54 who live in Northern California who spend more than $20,000 a year on lottery tickets. Would you like to advertise to them? That's the kind of information you got from Facebook, and that's what Google plans to do with FLoC. But there are some issues, I think, with all of this. Do you credit Google, Larry, with doing the right thing, or is this just hand-waving in the face of a big consumer boycott against cookies?
I think it's doing what benefits Google, and perhaps harms its lesser endowed competitors. It may be a good thing anyway. I mean, as I say, I don't mourn the death of the cookie, but I think it is Google figuring out a way to continue business as usual using a different strategy. And at the end, they're going to make plenty of money from it.
Yeah. So. You agree, Nicholas? Is that?
Yeah, it's funny, at CR we've definitely done stories on like how to effectively use an ad blocker, to it's
because you're in a good position at Consumer Reports. You don't have ads.
But my friends and colleagues work at ad-supported websites, so it's like I can't tell folks, hey, just put an ad blocker and then destroy careers. Like
I should, by the way, disclose that Google is a sponsor of Connect Safely, so we don't take ads, but we do have corporate sponsors, and they're one of them. So
yeah, we've had Google ads on our shows as well. Yeah.
Now we talk bad about them.
But
buying an ad does not protect you against editorial condemnation.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Nicholas.
No, I was just going to say, it is something that's sort of top of mind of our readers, privacy and being online and having the weird ad track you. Like we get questions all the time. It's like, what is happening? How do I stop this? Some people don't care, to be fair.
I think I'm going to go out on a limb. I think most people don't care. In fact, I keep wondering what are we really worried about? Wouldn't you prefer an ad for something that you're interested in than an ad for something that's just wasting your energy? Because you never would want that anyway.
It's just when I was younger, I was way more militant about this type of thing, to be honest. As I've gotten older, I just turned 35 to give you an idea. I sort of agree. Is like I have my interests are I like tech stuff, I like video games, I like soccer. Really, unless you're advertising something in those three buckets, you're just wasting your money, to be honest.
Right.
I'm not going to buy your
Advertisers
thing, really.
don't want to advertise to you.
Yeah, and that saves me time and it saves them ad budget. So I sort of agree. I guess the question is, where does that line, is it better that they know me specifically, my IP address? Is it better that they go even further and try to fingerprint my machine? That's kind of weird. Or do they just put me in a cohort or whatever they want to call it? Here is a mid-30s guy who likes nerd junk. Let's show him some ads for GPUs or mice and keyboards.
Yeah.
That feels okay, I guess, to me.
So I understand why people run ad blockers. There are a lot of other good reasons. Ads take up a huge amount of bandwidth. They slow the page down ridiculously. They can bring malware into your system. There's lots of good reasons to not want that kind of advertising. But I don't, to me, especially this kind of cohort tracking, the kind that Facebook and Google do, the only risk, as far as I'm concerned, I stopped using Instagram because their ads were so damn good that I kept buying stuff. They were too good. Instagram, of all of the platforms, seems to know best exactly what's going to get me to buy something in the middle of the night when I'm doom scrolling every single time. So I got rid of Instagram, not because I don't love it. I love it, but because I was buying too much crap.
Costing you too much money.
It was costing me too much. It was too good.
And they do get, I think the last time I looked, I think they get 3 to 4x the click-throughs on,
is it the best?
Those ads.
Is it the most
it
effective?
Is. I believe it is, at least at scale. I believe it has the highest click rates. I work for ad-supported media, but CNET, we do consider ourselves consumer advocates, and as consumer advocates, we certainly welcome the end of third-party cookies. They've overreached over the past decade, especially, and but the idea of cohorts, to the points that you all have made, there's some good on the other side of that to the Instagram example of it does let them target things to you better and provide you useful stuff. The challenge is you may end up, like Leo, end up finding too many things to buy. That's a whole different issue. But all in all, I think we have to assume that over time, that AI, deep learning, all of these things are going to get better, and the targeting is going to get really good and effective, even without third-party cookies. Because remember, you're still going to have first-party cookies. So those sites cooking you for the stuff on their site, they're still going to track what you look at and do on their site. They're going to know your IP address. They're going to have data on you. And So these things are going to still get better over time, but what you're removing is the really egregious stuff that these third-party tracking things were doing, and some of these ads that were.
I don't want Cambridge Analytica
predatory stuff.
to put political ads in my Facebook feed because they've done sentiment analysis and have decided, that's not good. Although I guess it's another form of ad tracking. I feel like also, readers of Consumer Reports might use the word creepy, right, to describe this. And I think that's what people who don't like technology or don't understand what's going on with technology always say, oh, that's creepy. And if they really understood it, they might not think it's creepy. They just...
I've long
and it's the thing too. It's like, oh, my phone is listening to me. I was talking about an app or service. I won't mention the name here, but like a conversation, WhatsApp, which I know is encrypted. But we were talking about this app, and then lo and behold, later that evening, I got an ad. I think it was in YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, I know that that's actually not what's happening here, but like it's just there's all this doubt about like what it's so opaque and no one unless you're deep in the weeds of ad tech every day, it is very, very hard to understand. And one of the things I really appreciate about being at Consumer Reports is really understanding and empathizing with folks. People have lives, they have kids, they have jobs, they have things to do. They don't spend all day, on tech Twitter or refreshing tech meme or whatever. They're living a life. And so if they don't really understand how this ad stuff works, maybe they'll use words creepy, but it's just like opaque and like.
There's a huge opportunity for you though to talk to real people and explain what's going on. I mean, it's also a responsibility. It's a burden.
No, I agree.
Yeah, but I think that's a great opportunity for you.
I've long since accepted the fact that if I go shopping for something, I'm going to get inundated with ads for that product. But what bugs me is after I bought it, you'd think they'd be smart enough to know.
That's just bad. Yeah, that's
that
just
I'm no longer in the market for.
That's just a bad algorithm.
Yeah.
That's not creepy or intrusive. It's just stupid because the algorithm is broken. But you see that all the time. You go to Amazon and they say, people like you often buy this. Yeah, I bought it yesterday. That's why you say that. Although, Nicholas, if you start getting ads for, I don't know, NBA highlights in your feed, it wouldn't be surprising or creepy. It would just make sense.
I agree. But one of my editors makes a very similar argument. I think a year or two ago, he was in the market for a car. I think he bought a Honda or something. And he still gets ads like, after the purchase, was finished, he's still getting ads for like Toyota and Mazda. And he's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this is just waste. They're wasting them. I've already bought the car.
So the complaint in that case is not against tracking. It's about a just poorly implemented algorithm.
Well, if the tracking isn't good enough, they don't know you. They know you were looking for the car.
They didn't know you bought it.
So in some ways, it's good. I mean, maybe it would be worse if they knew that you had bought the Honda.
So track me better.
The bottom line is they are wasting
nobody
your
says
time
that.
and their money.
Nobody says, please track me better.
Are you supposed to say, oh, well, if they're not tracking me enough, then here you go. Here's
do a
just
better
take all
job.
my passwords.
Or there should be a button where you say, I bought it already.
Right.
I already bought it button.
Right.
Yeah. Which actually would be very valuable data in itself.
Oh, hugely valuable. Are you kidding? That would trigger a whole cascade of advertisements.
Right.
Well, now, do you have the floor mats? Yeah. Google's a little bit in trouble. Judge Lucy Koh, who's been involved because she's a federal judge in the Silicon District, includes Silicon Valley, Northern California District, yelled at Google saying, I can't believe incognito mode doesn't hide anything from Google. She has approved a class action lawsuit from consumers who complain that even when they turn off data collection in Chrome, other Google tools used by websites end up amassing their personal information. Judge Koh wrote, the court concludes Google did not notify users that Google engages in the alleged data collection while the user is in private browsing mode. Private implies private. Google says, we strongly dispute these claims, and we will defend ourselves vigorously against them. Incognito mode in Chrome gives you the choice to browse the internet without your activity being saved to your browser and device. You're, in effect, being incognito from yourself. As we clearly state, each time you open a new incognito tab, websites might be able to collect information about your browsing activity during your session. I mean, I talk to people all the time, like you. Nicholas, I also talk to the unwashed masses, normal people.
Regular folks. Yeah.
Regular folks who listen to the radio show. I mean, they must have some interest in technology. They wouldn't listen to a technology radio show. But they are always amazed when I say, oh, yeah, incognito mode doesn't hide anything from Google. It just hides. It hides it from your spouse, basically. That's who it's.
No, I agree. We literally ran. I wrote the story maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I forget now. What does incognito mode do?
Yes.
And the takeaway is it is local. It erases you so your roommate doesn't see what websites.
That's it.
That is basically it. Websites can still track you, or there's the possibility of them still track. And folks don't know that. They see incognito mode. They see the little guy with the disguise and the glasses, and they assume that they're tracked they're as if they were using Tor or something. And that's not quite what incognito mode means.
Incognito. But by the way, it ain't just Google. Safari has private browsing, not private.
Edge,
Firefox, Edge, they all do it. I guess this is an example of engineers understand what it means.
That's what it feels like to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it keeps your spouse from knowing that you've been to a porn site. I mean, I think that's its most.
Okay, you said it. I wasn't going to say it.
Well,
you let the secret out.
Obviously, how people are using it.
The secret is out, honey. I'm sorry. All right. Let's see. Let me take another break. We have a lot more to cover, but we don't have a lot more time. I don't want to. Poor Nicholas. We have to. Well, if you've listened to the show, you know it goes on and on and on and on.
I'm here. Let's go.
And on and on and on. And on. I figure Larry and Jason are already aware of that, but I will. we had a fun week. We did a great promo. We've made this for you. I'm going to make you watch it, and then we'll have more on TWiT. Watch.
Oh my God! The song we match.
No way! Holy moly!
She's wearing a hot dog hat.
Folks who are tuning in.
He's wearing a mustard hat.
Previously on TWiT. Tech News Weekly.
We have Eugene Kim from Business Insider here to talk about his piece on Amazon's Vesta home robot.
It's kind of this, home personal assistant. The most common description I've heard is that it's basically a Fire tablet, Echo Show device mounted on wheels.
Oh,
This Week in Google.
Oh, God. We brought Trey on, and of course, Trey's an old friend, because you sent me an email the other day, said, here's an NFT of one of my images. We have been trying, Trey, for a month to figure out what the hell these non-fungible tokens are.
The wave of interest is so high that it's probably the right time to get in.
Security Now.
To make it easier to watch YouTube videos, the creative agency Happiness Saigon partnered with Frito-Lay to create the Lay's Crispy Subtitles browser extension that automatically enables YouTube captions when it detects you are eating chips.
TWiT.
This is why we have computer technology.
Yes.
This was what it was all meant to do.
Oh, Lord. Thank you, Steve Gibson, for discovering the Lay's Crisp Subtitle Chrome extension. Our show today brought to you by Extra Hop, the SolarWinds sunburst attack. Man, what a wake-up call in the changing threat landscape. And I'll even add now the Exchange Server 0 days. Holy cow. Cyber attacks have only become more advanced, harder to detect. And the problem all these people who run Exchange servers are facing right now, or were hacked in the SolarWinds attack, is there somebody in my network? Were they able to use those attacks to live in my network? When cyber criminals get past your defenses, businesses need a plan for detection and response. And I think we all understand now that old model of protection and prevention alone is no longer enough. That's why you need Extra Hop, and especially Extra Hop Reveal X. It's the only solution that shows not just where intruders are going, but where they've been. Intruders love to cover their tracks. With Reveal X, they can't. You can investigate incidents and prevent them from turning into full-blown breaches. When cyber attacks make the news, first question I ask our security team, in other words, our IT guy, first question security teams need to know, first question you must be asking if you're running Exchange server, have we been compromised? That's why Reveal X is so great. Get 90 days of record look back, complete network visibility across the data center, the cloud, the device edge, so security teams can actually do an audit. They can actually get real answers, and they can get it fast. Because let's face it, response time is critical. In a post-compromise world, your greatest chance of stopping advanced threats is with ExtraHop's network detection and response. Respond fast, you'll limit the damage. Respond slow, sky's the limit. Learn more about how ExtraHop stops breaches 84% faster. They've got a great interactive demo you can try at extrahop.com/twit. extrahop.com/twit. Something you absolutely need. extrahop.com/twit. We were talking about Google and their court troubles, Microsoft piling on. I love the little snippy back and forth between Google and Microsoft. Brad Smith testifying in front of Congress this week. Let me see if I can find his quotes here. I got too many stories. Too long of a list of things to talk about. Remember, Microsoft with this Exchange and SolarWinds thing has really been under the gun. So I don't have the exact quote, but Brad Smith saying, yeah, Google has really been killing journalism with its search results. It's about time journalists could come to Google and say, hey, we want some money for link tax. He's talking about what happened in Australia and apparently is encouraging the United States Congress to follow the same path. Google's response to this is Microsoft's just trying to say, don't pay any attention to those SolarWinds Exchange hacks. You really ought to be going after Google. It's really ugly. I gotta say, it's really ugly to see these guys attacking each other, and they've both got things to work on in their home. No need to go to Congress and say, "Oh yeah, we need a link tax." That's just a bad idea. And I guess the real problem is I don't trust Congress for a second to do the right thing. They're gonna oh yeah, that's a good idea. In fact, they already are considering doing what they did in Australia, and Google will probably have to make a deal with big journalism organizations. Now, you all work for, well, Larry, less so, but Jason, you work for CNET, and Nicholas, you work for Consumer Reports. Do you feel like Google is Jason, let me start with you, is stealing your traffic?
Oh, boy. That's a very philosophical question.
That's the debate, isn't it? Because
Leo.
So the thing is, Google puts these snippets. So if Google does is a search index on CNET, and they see the latest story on CNET, they'll put a little snippet in there. CNET doesn't say this. Rupert Murdoch says it. His contention and other published contention is, they see this snippet, they don't need to go to the page. But I think on the other hand, Google points out, look, without us driving traffic to your site, no one even would know the article exists. We drive far more traffic than we pull away.
Yeah, and the truth is, most of the time you end up in one of those featured snippet boxes, you're getting a ton of traffic from it.
Okay, that's what I'm curious about. I mean,
Right, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
That's right. So now you have to be kind of smart about it. Like you have to know that you're aiming this long-tailed story at something that is kind of evergreen at one of these snippet boxes. You're going to put enough information in there that's going to, tease it in some cases, but is still going to show that you've got more context if they click through the link and they want more. Right. So you have to understand what you're doing there. But yeah, and Google it's a fair point to say that Google is putting more and more of their thing, and they want more and more of it on their page because they have Facebook jealousy, right? Facebook has these long engagement times, and Google has much more transactional traffic. And so,
but Google doesn't want you to live on that search page, or do they?
I mean, that's what these things are all about. That's what all of these things are about. That's why they have those little questions too, right? Where you type in, right? And you can just unpack those questions of like, what is an NFT? Is an NFT worth as much as Bitcoin? Whatever. It's got those little questions. You hit those questions and it expands out.
You don't need to go to a site. You're getting all that information right from Google.
But on the other hand, I do write for the Mercury News and I write for Forbes, and I crave high listings on Google News. I mean, when those happen, that's money in the bank. I mean, that can generate enormous traffic, which can translate into enormous ad revenue if that's how you're monetizing. So I don't quite understand why it's such a big problem for publishers, when they benefit from it as well.
The bigger problem that it creates is not that they're stealing traffic, that essentially Google used to be about that front page, right? If you had your link on the front page of Google, pretty much any of those 10 slots, you did really well. Now it's being concentrated into a smaller Google whitelisted version of the best results, and it's more winner take all. So if you end up in one of those featured snippets, or you end up as one of the first 2 links, or you end up in the news box if it's a news article, your traffic goes to the moon. If you're on if you're not in one of those sort of what we'll call the top 3, in many cases the top 1, then your traffic now, even on the first page of Google, is drastically reduced. And so Google is essentially—
they haven't taken away traffic from you. They just haven't given you any, right? I mean, have they stolen your traffic or just failed to give you more traffic?
Right. I'm saying that's the risk to understand here is not that Google's stealing your traffic. It's just that it's making a much more winner take all game. Right. That's the thing to worry about. But if you end up in one of those, like I said, if you're featured, you end up in those featured snippets, even though they're technically taking your text and put it on their page, you still get so much traffic out of it, which is, I know what you're getting to, Larry, as well, that it's more than worth it to end up in one of those.
Right.
So on balance, you would rather have Google do that than lose Google referral traffic entirely.
Sure.
Yeah, we're not going to block Google from taking that.
Right. And you could, by the way, I don't know why Google doesn't say, hey, there's this thing called robots.txt. You could keep us from indexing. You don't have to show up in our search results if you don't like it.
Of course, if you can get both, if you could get the traffic and a fee from Google, so much the better.
Oh. Yeah, maybe that has something to do with this.
A broadcaster on cable news, on cable like Comcast, you're getting your ads are being seen by more people. And if you can get some kind of kickback from the cable company, even better. So that may be the model that they're looking at.
Yeah. Google called Brad Smith's testimony in front of Congress naked opportunism.
The claws are out. The claws are out.
I love it when the big guys fight. It's just fun to watch. Let's see, what else? Federal regulators, you guys own Teslas. You sound like you have a Tesla, right, Jason?
I do not.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
He just sounds like he does.
He sounds like he does. You seem like the kind of guy that might have one.
I long time admirer of what they're doing, and probably would likely own a Tesla, in the future.
And Larry does a self-driving Tesla. I did have one. I now have that new Ford electric vehicle, which has many of the same features.
The Mach-E.
The Mach-E, yeah.
Great.
Where do you stand, Nicholas, on Teslas?
I don't have I think the Cybertruck looks pretty cool. I'm not a car guy, to be honest. I don't have any fully formed opinion. I have a Honda Civic, and it drives to the Walmart to work.
You're my kind of guy. I have a Honda Civic with 100,000 miles on it. Actually, my mom's Honda Civic literally did have 200,000 miles on it before she stopped driving. The thing, I know that you can't kill it. You just can't kill it.
Tesla forums, people are always coming down on Consumer Reports because you guys don't gentriflect. Good for you that you don't.
No, in fact, it was a shock when Consumer Reports. I think they downgraded Tesla for reliability.
Upgraded it,
and then upgraded it, but I think there was also some criticism of the self-driving features. Now, it's the NTSB's turn.
Right.
They have filed comments blasting the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration for permissive regulation of driver assistance systems. The NTSB is the organization that investigates accidents. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the NHTSA, sets the standard. The NTSB calls out Tesla's autopilot for its lax safety practices and says the NHTSA should establish some minimum standards. There are none. And in fact, for the last 4 years under then President Trump, the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration largely let automakers do what they liked when it came to advanced driver assistance systems, ADAS systems, and prototype driverless vehicles. The NHTSA is generally weighted. This is from an article in Ars Technica. Credit to Timothy B. Lee for this one. The NHTSA has generally weighted. Oh, now I lost the paragraph. Until there's been a problem before they address it. But the NTSB singled out Tesla specifically. You may not like this, Larry. 16 times in the report, partly because there have been 6 crashes involving driver's assistance in the last years. Now, 4 of them were fatal, but how many hundreds of thousands of people have died in that same time period?
Right. That's the issue. I mean, look, I recognize that full self-driving is far from perfect. And there have been a couple of cases like I've been driving like road hazard, like there might have been a trash can in the middle of the road and it might not have stopped had I not been vigilant. So you really do have to watch it. But by and large, it's a better driver than I am. I mean, when I change lanes, for example, I use the lane changing and I still look around, but I actually trust it more than I trust me. It has more eyes than I do. Its processors are sharper than better memory. Again, I look at it as a safety feature as long as I'm also being vigilant.
The NTSB said Tesla recently released a beta version of its Level 2 autopilot system. That's that thing you were talking about. Larry described as having full self-driving capability. By releasing the system, Tesla is testing on public roads a highly automated AV technology, but with limited oversight and reporting requirements. Right. They say the NHTSA
and using drivers who are not trained. I mean, when Google tests or Waymo tests its cars, I presume that the so-called safety drivers are trained and responsible for how they operate it. Anybody can buy a Tesla and be an idiot if they want to.
Yeah, and often they do.
But there is something Musk mentioned the other day that they actually will take people out of the beta program if they find that you're driving irresponsibly.
I saw that. Do you get your $5,000 back?
No.
Oh, let's not go crazy.
I'm not in the beta program. I haven't been anointed yet. So I just have the regular so-called full self-driving, which is pretty automated already. But the beta program, it actually makes left and right turns on city streets and does things that the shipping version doesn't do yet.
I think, I see the two competing things. The NHTSA wants to foster this technology, and as many jurisdictions have done, for instance, Arizona, we're going to need this. Humans are terrible drivers, so let's really make it easier for self-driving research to happen. Public streets, but you're not going to learn unless you go out in public. The NTSB is saying people should not be dying. You need to make standards. You need to set some standards so that automakers can't just do whatever they want. I understand both points of view, really.
Yeah. I mean, Tesla, they did find there have been, these safety organizations have done, because there have been people that have died. They have done these investigations of Tesla Autopilot. What they found is it is on highway driving, right? It is safer than a human today, like the version that's out there.
Right.
So there's that. But I think what this one is getting to is that the agencies are not setting standards for these things. And so you have, for example, GM, which isn't in very many cars at all, right? But they have their standard, which has on the top of the wheel, it has a bar that checks to make sure your eyes are looking straight ahead, right? So it has what is essentially a stronger safety feature than what Tesla offers.
And GM will only let you use it on mapped freeways. You can't use it off the freeway. And you can't use it on a freeway that they haven't mapped. My Ford has a very similar system, by the way. It's not been turned on yet, but there's a little bar. There's a camera watching your eyes. I drove a Cadillac with that system, the CTS with that system in it, and I was trying to test it to see if it would say, "Hey, Leo, you're not paying attention." And it was so scary that I didn't want to take my eyes off the road, so I went like this. I put my hands over my eyes and then peeked through to make sure I wasn't going to hit anything. But it was good enough to trick the camera, and it makes the seat shake. It sounds an alarm. It really says, "Sit up and pay attention." I thought that was actually quite good. I feel much safer in that.
But I have to say, I've been testing the thing where now the Tesla will stop at stop signs and lights, and it has yet to fail. I mean,
but that's the key. It's the one time that it runs that light or runs that stop sign, and you get T-boned that you really wish you had paid more attention.
On the other hand, have I ever run a red light? Have I ever run a stop
that's
sign?
true.
No, that's the other issue.
Good point.
We're human.
Good point. I think maybe Tesla made a little error calling it autopilot.
Yes, or full self-driving is even worse.
Yeah, and really should emphasize. I think they do. My Tesla used to scold me. It would actually.
What gets me mad, and I don't know how it works because I know you leased a Tesla.
Yeah,
so
for 3 years.
I own my Tesla, and I own my autopilot or full self-driving. And if I were to go out and buy a new Tesla, which I'm tempted to do, I wouldn't get to take the software with me, unlike Microsoft Office, which I can move from computer to computer. And so that software
stays with the car.
Stays with the car, which I think is the most absurd business model.
Well, does it stay with the car though? If somebody buys that car from you, I don't think he gets it.
No, if they buy it from me, they get
it.
If I sell it to Tesla and Tesla resells it, it's up to them to decide. But the point is that I'd be tempted to buy a newer Tesla, but there'd be an additional $10,000 charge over and above the difference in the value of my used version and the new hardware. So,
well, they are saying that starting in Q2 that they're going to offer it as a subscription service, right? Probably estimated like $200 a month, and at that point, then you sell the car, it doesn't go with the car, and you get a new Tesla. You just keep paying it. That service could also be. There could be some other features that go with the service. I think they're calling it Tesla Connect, or it's not official yet. But
as usual, he will stick it to his early adapters, the people who made him what he is, by not giving us the benefit of that great new option. So those of us who spent between $5,000 and $10,000, depending when you bought it, aren't going to get the benefit of that.
If you really cared, you
still have
give them the money.
You still have the value of it, though. Like you said, when you sell it, I mean, it is a $10,000 option that goes with the vehicle.
That's true.
And it does increase.
You don't get to take the tires either, right? Yeah.
Doesn't add close to $10,000 in resale value.
True, for sure. But the car too, those vehicles are likely to go. Some of these Teslas are going 300, 400, 500,000 miles. You keep it for as long as that Tesla, as long as it goes. If you kept that car for 10 years, you still have the software as for the whole length of that. That's going to be less than what you would pay for the rental fee, essentially, if you did the subscription. Just saying.
And 10 years from now, I'm going to need a self-driving car because I'm going to be really old.
Well, that's that's what I'm hoping. Yeah. It'll drive me to the nursing home.
That's right.
One-way trip. I could go on and on about Elon. He's getting sued by investors for tweeting. Even though the SEC said stop tweeting. I wonder if the SEC might go after him for that. And then there is a report that, remember, Elon did not believe that COVID-19 should shut down his Tesla plant in Fremont. He opened it in violation of local regulations. And apparently now we're learning there were hundreds of cases as a result of Tesla workers who came back to work, had to come back to work, I guess.
My only real regret about buying a Tesla is that I'm feeding Elon because I think the guy's kind of a jerk. I mean,
but he's kind of cool too. He's
kind of cool, but he's a little like Steve Jobs on steroids. I mean, Steve Jobs was an amazing, brilliant, incredible guy, but you wouldn't want to work for him.
Yeah, very similar.
Musk is similar, but probably worse in some ways. I don't know.
This morning he launched that Falcon 9, put 60 more Starlink satellites up. Starlink is getting close. About 1,000 satellites have been deployed. They need 1,200 to do the preliminary first round, which means it'll probably be turned on soon. And by the way, the Falcon 9 booster came back to the Of Course I Love You barge and landed perfectly, stuck it, which makes this the 9th time it's been used, which is pretty amazing. It has changed the economics of space launches. So Starlink is anybody sign up for the Starlink yet? I know a lot of people who have. No. I haven't.
No, but
we're going to be testing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say, it sounds really interesting for, a lot of folks in rural areas. I speak to, a lot of our readers are not in New York or San Francisco or these kind of big urban cities.
Right.
And I remember I was working on a magazine story, maybe it was a year ago, maybe two years ago. I spoke to a woman in Michigan. She doesn't have internet in her home. It doesn't exist. She lives, it's a beautiful location. She said she was on a lake and
that's the trade.
Gorgeous.
That's the trade.
But if
she
wanted to get to send an email, she would have to drive to, some local bar, restaurant
that's
to
terrible.
get good enough reception. So it's that's what it is for, maybe not that extreme, but there are a lot of places in this country where the internet is not particularly good.
Right.
And so, programs, companies like Starlink, that's actually kind of interesting. I don't know, we'll see. I haven't tried, CR has not tested it, to be clear, but it sounds interesting, and it sounds like it may fill a need that clearly a lot of folks have.
It's also expensive, and I guess this is a first world issue, because one of the visions of Starlink is to not only bring internet to that woman in Michigan who maybe can afford $499 for the satellite and $99 a month for the service, but also to bring it to corners of the world where internet isn't available and there's not that much money. I'm hoping that they'll let the rich nations subsidize the poorer nations, because I think one of the visions for Starlink is to bring internet everywhere, right? I would hope.
And there will be economies of scale, and also even what essentially in here is one connection to potentially one house. There in some of those places, when you're going from
that's
zero,
true. A town could buy a dish. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You'll have a town or a village, and they'll split it 10 ways or 20 ways or whatever. And at least if you have even a basic connection, that's an upgrade. And then over time, as the technology scales and the bandwidth scales, then there's lots of potential there. It's not just Starlink doing it, SpaceX, but there are 2 or 3 others that are going to be competing as well. So that's a good thing.
When are you going to review it?
TBD. It's in process. We don't actually have it yet, but we've got somebody who's getting it, and but you can see. Obviously, I want everyone to look at CNET's review. I'm biased and think it's going to be extremely comprehensive and helpful. But you can go on YouTube, and there's a lot of people who have shared their experiences with it. So if you want to get a first look at some of those, you absolutely can take a look at half a dozen videos of different people and their experiences.
They say I can order it now. It will come by mid to late 2021. It's not cheap. $499 a month for the $499 for the hardware, $99 a month for the service. They even have the nerve to charge me $50 for shipping and handling. I'd have to give them $99 now to get into the program. I might do that. That's refundable.
Kind of like ordering a Tesla. It's interesting. Similar model.
It's very similar. Yeah. It is refundable. So, just like the Tesla, you could. He still has my. I should get my money back for the Model 3 deposit I put down a couple of years ago. Probably not going to buy it at this point. All right, I think I should order it because I think we should review it. I mean, I presume am I going to have to contract for a year or something, or can I just turn it off after a month or two? I don't know. I'll have to figure.
Can you
out.
move it? Let's say you had a vacation house in the boonies.
Yeah, you should be able to move it.
Take it with you?
I would hope so.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, they're talking about eventually they're going to probably build the satellite into potentially into the Tesla Semi. So that, and also even they mentioned airplanes and boats as also possible to have this, right? So those are things that move. They still think in cities, they've said this recently, they still think in cities that it's going to make more sense for people to use the cellular network.
Oh,
right?
interesting.
For mobile
so
broadband.
it really is best for people who just like that Michigan lady, just really don't have a choice or have such bad internet because they're so far off the grid that.
No, I agree. There does appear to be a real kind of thirst or for it's not just like internet connections, like, oh, I could watch funny cat videos, which is fine, whatever, but like how much of culture is now just coming through the internet? You can't watch Netflix, you can't do HBO Max, you can't live stream this show. It's like so much of compared to 15 years ago, you didn't if you didn't have a broadband connection, it wasn't necessarily that big of a deal. Today, it feels way more critical to just be kept in the loop of what's going on and to like participate in society, to have a reliable, this is that digital divide, which Consumer Reports covers very closely. It's like folks are getting left behind through no fault of their own, and that's bad. Not to endorse Starlink. We haven't tested it. I don't have it. I've seen a YouTube video on it. The guy seemed fairly satisfied with it, but like services like that may be just what folks are looking for.
It may be the federal government needs to subsidize it, like they did universal access to electricity in the 30s with the TVA and other things. The House and Senate unveiled a new $94 billion proposal this week to make broadband internet more accessible and affordable nationwide. Really to address that issue of people who are off the grid, off the internet, and who can't participate in a modern economy, who can't get work, who can't learn the information they need to be good voters, all of that stuff. It's called the Accessible, Affordable Internet for All Act. It will, of course, be heavily debated. It's a significant investment, but I think it's the kind of investment that may make a big difference.
It's the modern-day Tennessee Valley Authority, which electrified rural America long after urban America was electrified.
Yeah,
so.
We've needed that for a long time. Yeah. Well, all right, you talked me into it. I just ordered Starlink, so we'll see. I realized, you're right, Jason. You got to review it. There's going to be, once these start rolling out, there's going to be vast interest. I don't need it. I get gigabit from Comcast at home. We get 10 gigabits from Sonic here, so I'm really not going to benefit, but I think we should review it. We should take a look at it and set it up. So I'll order it. It's part of our job.
Cool.
Our show today.
Take it on your boat.
I'll put it. Well, that's why I really want it.
On your yacht.
You know what I want? I want a suitcase size Starlink that I can carry around. So as I'm traveling, I could still do the shows, that kind of thing. Ooh. If wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
That's my dream. Then I'll never retire. As long as I could do this, from Morocco or the Maldives or the Seychelles, I would be happy. I'll be happy. I could go to Barbados. Actually, we have a friend, one of our sponsors, who spent the last 6 months in Barbados. Because they have that visa where you could do your business from Barbados. He loved it. I asked him, well, the bandwidth, because I need to have good enough bandwidth to not only do the show, but have a green screen behind me so nobody would know that I'm in Barbados. And he said, the bandwidth's better than at home. This guy works for a big bandwidth company. He knows. He said the bandwidth was fantastic. They have fiber to the island, and I guess they're affluent enough that they have very, very good internet. My only concern is if you saw me on a beach doing the show, you might not feel too happy.
I've seen you in a Hawaiian shirt. I know what you look like.
I could wear a Hawaiian shirt. I could be on the beach right now. You don't know. I may be wearing a suit on the beach. And
it could be a filter.
It's all a filter. It's a green screen.
For all we know.
For all we know, Nicholas doesn't have bricks behind him. You just don't know.
That's part of the
someday we're gonna
dial.
Someday we're gonna dial into this show, as a guest, and it's gonna look just like it is now. But Leo's gonna say this episode brought to you by the Costa Rican, Better Business Bureau, and then we're gonna know, okay, he's not even there.
Hello, man! It's time for Concreta, everybody. What we do this weekend? Take. Our show today brought to you by ExpressVPN. Hey, even if I'm here, I can pretend I'm in Barbados or London if I want to watch Netflix UK, or Tokyo if I want to watch Netflix Japan. This is absolutely shocking, but it is completely legal for internet service providers to gather every bit of what you're doing online and sell it to marketers. T-Mobile just announced a change in their privacy policy saying they were going to do exactly that. Whether it's a mobile carrier or your home internet, you're being spied on. And as we now know, incognito mode does not hide your activity from them. It just hides it from your spouse or your nosy roommate. So no matter what you're doing or how often you clear your browsing history, your internet provider can see every single site you visit. They can see every search you do. That's why when you're at home, when you probably should use ExpressVPN. Never go online without ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is very easy to do. There are routers. You can put ExpressVPN on routers. They support many routers. You can put it on any machine. You can put it on your phone. You could even put it on your smart television. What ExpressVPN does is it hides your IP address. In a sense, instead of using your IP address, you're using ExpressVPN's IP address. So if you do a Google search, Google doesn't know it's you. They just know it's coming from that IP address. That's not you. It doesn't matter. If you get your internet from Verizon or Comcast or any other local ISP, it's completely legal in the U.S. for them to gather and sell your information to advertising.
Leo, if I could just make one caution. If you order pizza and you're logged in through London, make sure you get a pizza place.
Give them the proper address. Don't have your pizza delivered to Trafalgar Square. That won't do you any good.
It's really fun to do Google searches when because I have ExpressVPN. When I tell it I'm in another country and I do a Google search, I get a whole different result than I get when I do it from home.
It's actually very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. And by the way, it's really important. I'm glad to hear you have ExpressVPN because what people, sure, any VPN will do this. The problem is you're just kicking the privacy can down the road. The VPN now sees everything that Comcast saw or Google saw. Mm-hmm. So you really want to make sure you use a VPN provider that doesn't log, doesn't track you, and ExpressVPN actually goes the extra mile. Not only not to log you, but to make it impossible to log you. They use a trusted server technology that when you go to ExpressVPN, when you push that button that turns it on, it spins up the VPN server in RAM. It's sandboxed. It cannot write to disk. And as soon as you log off, it's gone, and literally no trace at all of what you just did online exists. It's gone forever. They don't know it. No one can know it. It's not free. They invest. It's reasonable, $7 a month, thereabouts. But they invest in their bandwidth, in their servers. And that's why you can watch Netflix in the UK, because it's fast enough. You won't even know you're using it. And you're able to watch HD video. Even on your smart TV, you can use ExpressVPN to protect. Truthfully, if you have a smart TV, you really need ExpressVPN, because if you think your ISP is bad, your smart TV vendor is far, far worse. They know everything you're doing on that television. Protect your online activity today. Get the VPN. CNET rates #1. Wired rates #1. The one I use, the only one I recommend, the one Larry uses, expressvpn.com/twit. We've got a good deal for you. When you buy a 1-year package, you'll get 3 extra months free. Protect your privacy, eliminate geographic restrictions, protect yourself against people snooping on you. It's ExpressVPN. It's the only one I use. ExpressVPN.com/twit. ExpressVPN.com/twit.
I got it when I was in Turkey because I wanted to access YouTube, and Erdogan was blocking YouTube the time. So it's great.
And you've used it ever since. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and of course, whenever I travel, especially if I'm in Russia or Turkey or China, if I'm allowed to use a VPN, which I think so far I've been able to.
Oh, that's interesting.
You really want to use it there.
Yeah. For a lot of reasons, partly because you can't get anything you want.
That's right.
You can't go to the places you want. But whatever you do, don't share your Netflix password, okay?
Right.
Apparently emails are going out now. They want to, everybody, who doesn't share? The thing is, in the Netflix terms of service, it says you can only share it with people in your household. Well, my kids are in my household. They don't live with me anymore, but they're still my kids. So that's the question. What is household?
Right.
They are now sending out emails. They're letting people know, if you don't live with the owner of this account, you need your own account to keep watching. And you'll need to verify it with an email or an SMS text message. Otherwise, if you want to watch this is a test, Netflix says. I imagine they're going to wait and see how many screams of pain. A Netflix person told thestreamable.com, this test is designed to help ensure people using Netflix are authorized to do so. It still isn't clear if users in the test all need to have the same IP address to be in the same household. And I'm not sure what they would do if you were using a VPN IP address. You'll have to let me know.
They might block you.
They've been very good in the past. I mean, one of the reasons I use Netflix as an example, I actually inquired because I thought, well, I don't want to recommend something Netflix is against. They said, no, if you have a subscription, if you're paying for Netflix, you can use Netflix Japan with a VPN. That's fine. You pay for it. The only reason they say we don't recommend it is because the video quality won't be so good. But they say it's not against the rules.
You know, I'm in the same situation you are. I have adult kids and they live in their own places. And I think if they were to take away that ability, and we actually pay more, we pay more to Netflix for the ability to 4 people log on at once.
Exactly. I have a premium plan for that very reason, so they can all watch.
There are enough competitors out there that if they start messing around with people, I think people are just going to, they'll go off to HBO Max or Hulu or, there's a ton of places now. They no longer have the monopoly on streaming.
And I think Netflix has said for a long time, it doesn't cost us that much. The password sharing is not hurting us. Now, maybe it's starting to. According to research firm Magid, no relations. He says Magid, you say Magid?
I say Magid.
You say Magid?
They stole it from me. Yeah.
Are you a relation?
I'm hoping the blockchain would protect the word Magid for only
You need to have an NFT. Magid measured that 35% of millennials share passwords for streaming. 35%.
That seems low.
That
frankly,
seems low. I think Magid got
millennial.
some. Yes, I agree. That's right. You are a millennial, aren't you, Nicholas? You're right on the edge.
I think I'm right in the. I just turned 35, so I think I am like kind of middle of the road, average millennial.
I've always heard that that it's Mark Zuckerberg, who is 36.
Yeah, he's
the borderline. So if you're older than Mark, you're out. If you're Mark's age or younger, you're in.
They did some research and they discovered there are 3 millennials in America who are actually paying for Netflix.
That's probably more like it. Yes, I would guess.
Yeah, I can say that I don't know any millennial that actually pays for it, but I'm a test group of 1. But I think that part of it is they will eventually over time, right? It's one of the, it's like people were saying that the housing market is over, millennials aren't going to buy houses. Well, it's just that they aged into it. It's fine. Now it's like the housing market is roaring because so many millennials are buying houses. Right. And so it is an opportunity, though. I really like what Larry was saying about it's an opportunity for some of the other places to say, like, look, you want to share with your family and you guys are in different places, go for it.
Who cares?
Just pay us the extra family plan and we're happy to let you do it.
Well, that's what Apple does. That's what Apple does. That's what Google does.
If 100 people are using your sure,
that's different.
I mean, there should be some reasonable number where they look the other way.
But that's one way that they enforce that by saying, well, you can only have 4 streams at a time. So if 100 people are using it, you're not going to be able to watch your Netflix. You're going to pretty quickly change the password.
Change your password.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think one way that millennials can afford it is by buying stonks. That's the key. Get into the stonk market. I'm sure a few millennials bought Roblox when they went public this week. God. And if they did okay. $38 billion market cap. This is their first, this is their public offering. They were valued in the private market in January at $29.5 billion. So this is a pretty big jump. The stock closed at $69.50. I don't know Roblox. I don't know any kids that age, but boy,
it's like digital Legos, kind of thing.
If you go to connectsafely.org, you can read our parents' guide. To Roblox. They're one of our supporters.
Nice.
And they're a great company. I mean, we really enjoyed working with them. I wish instead of getting a grant, I got some stock in the company instead.
Yeah, no kidding.
But no, they're they work really hard,
and they market it well, and they give kids lots of opportunities to spend more money.
Oh yeah, Robux. They call
Robux.
Them.
Yeah. I think the thing to think about these.
To keep your kids safe on Roblox, which is what parents worry about.
Yeah.
With those investments, it's a little deceiving, right? The way a lot of these work, especially SPACs, a lot of these companies that are going, and Roblox is a good, solid company. I think it's a long-term, if you're an investor, it's probably a good thing. But, these companies now that are especially high profile, have high profile consumer products, they come to market. The people who were the insiders who paid for the stock and got it at a reasonable price, they make a lot of money because as soon as it hits the market, the stock goes way up. And then almost always in the first year, it drops off by like 20%, right?
Well, this might really happen this year because Roblox benefited hugely from COVID because all those kids were home with nothing to do. So users were, through the roof. I wonder what's going to happen. Actually, who was it that wrote an article about, was it you, Larry? About when COVID ends, what the world's going to look like?
Yeah, I have a piece in the Mercury News this week about what the world's going to look like. And one of the comments I made, I think we talked about this earlier, is that television will never be the same. I mean, what we're doing now, remotely being interviewed by you, is common. Newly common
it's
for the
so
broadcast
funny.
Networks.
When this first started, I mean, we're now exactly a year. This is a 1-year anniversary of locking down. And, all the news channels started doing what we do, what we've done for 15 years. And it was hysterical for me to watch their learning curve progress as ours did. Don't let them use those Apple headphones. Oh, I can hear the scritching. Oh, my God, the guy's off mic. He's muted. All of that stuff. It was really fun to watch. But they've got it down now pretty well. There's no reason to go back to anything else.
No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of examples where, I'm hoping that restaurant deliveries continue to do okay. I mean, I'm looking forward to going back to restaurants.
I hope there's some restaurants still
left to go to. I had never had groceries delivered before the pandemic, and that's the only way we get groceries now.
Know. That's not going to change, is it? Yeah.
And I think I'm going to probably continue doing that, to some extent.
Yeah.
So there are elements that will stay with us.
And maybe Roblox will be one of them. Maybe the kids will continue to play.
Also telemedicine. I have been to my doctor several times this year without actually being to my doctor.
Yeah.
And it's actually been a better experience. And I was telling you earlier, I can do my own EKG. I can do my own blood pressure. Pretty soon, supposedly Apple's going to do blood glucose over your watch. I mean,
just don't do your own surgery at home, okay?
Yeah, that's true. I try to avoid that.
Okay, Larry, now hold the scalpel at a slight angle.
My wife does do my hair cutting. So
we're getting close. You see, it's
getting there.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
They'll just send a robot to Larry's house, a robot surgeon, and then somebody with AR will actually perform the surgery.
That may actually that may not be so far off.
We can crowdsource it. See who'll give me the best deal on it.
One of those little Amazon delivery things will trundle up to your doorstep, say, "Pick me up, bring me in. I'm going to do the surgery."
That'll be a future feature. You buy one of these Amazon robots, and it's like now doing surgeries. So if you need a surgery, your Amazon Home robot will actually do it. You just contract with the doctor, in Minnesota.
It's a great topic. We've talked a lot about it on various shows because there's going to be a new normal. But I do think one thing that's going to happen. I'm now convinced because we were already seeing people do it prematurely. Is people can't wait to go to restaurants, to go to concerts, to just go to a bar and hang out, to breathe on each other. They just can't wait to do that. And I do think that there'll be this summer might be kind of crazy. I
got my second shot a week ago. So technically in a week from now, I'm as immune as I'll ever be. But I'm going to take my biggest baby step is I'm going to go grocery shopping next weekend.
Woohoo!
And I haven't been
Party! Party on aisle 6.
I'll probably wear 3 masks, and gloves, but I'll go grocery shopping.
I think you're right. Tech, as you write in the Mercury News, will become the new normal after getting us through a tough year. Here's some good news we can end the show with. The University at Buffalo has created a deepfake spotting tool that is 94% effective with portrait-style photos. People have been very worried about deep fakes. I just saw a mom got arrested for creating deep fakes of other members of the cheerleading squad to help her daughter get on the cheerleading squad. And I thought, this has become way too common. Now we got a problem. But this tool apparently is very effective because it looks at the light in the eye. Anything that's coming to the eye with the light emitting from these sources will have an image on the cornea. So if you compare the two eyes, they should have very similar reflective patterns because they're seeing the same things. And this artificial intelligence has been able to, by looking at the eyes, figure out if it's real or a deep fake. 94% effective. Good news, I guess.
Except for now that we know how it operates, can people then game
Yeah,
it?
of course. Of course. Oh well, never mind. Never mind. It seemed like a good high story to end on, but you've just ruined it.
Sorry.
Ruined it. I want to thank you all for joining us. What a fun show. Nicholas, it's great to have you. Now that you've been here, please come back. CU says it's okay, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to come back whenever you'll have me.
I just paid my whatever it is. Used to be $20. I think it's gone up for 30 now.
Sure.
What a deal. Yeah. That's the best deal ever for Consumer Reports. And I don't buy anything without looking it up. In fact, my wife thinks I'm, okay, go check Consumer Reports. I refuse.
Well,
I refuse to buy anything without reading Consumer Reports. There's a lot of actually free content. Do they make your content free or not?
I think the bulk of certainly I think the bulk of my stories on the website are free.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, I think the ratings are behind the paywall. So
yes,
if you want to know
I think
what
that's
the
right.
iPhone score was or whatever that you have to pay for, or printer.
Or just ask me. I'll share my password with you.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. I don't know what our rules are regarding password
I'm
share,
sure it's not encouraged. Yeah, I so love it, and I was sincere when I said that it was very much an inspiration when I started TWiT on how I wanted to handle reviews and how I wanted to, have this, church and state. We originally, when we started TWiT, we didn't want to take advertisers at all. Who knows? Maybe we'll go back to some sort of, supported thing. I would love to do it that way. And consumer unions obviously figured out how to do it. They've been around for a long time now.
I say like 100 years. It's been a long time.
You don't work in did you get to work in the testing lab or no?
Yeah, the testing lab is in the main campus is in, like I said, it's in Yonkers, New York, which is a little bit north of New York City. Everything except the cars are done out of Connecticut somewhere.
Right.
But everything else is done in the Yonkers facility.
That's awesome.
Computers.
What do you do with the stuff after you test it? Do you sell it to the staff, or who?
Yeah, what happens to you actually buy the car to review it. You sell it off to the staff. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you so much for being here. Come back again, Nicholas De Leon.
Nice meeting you, Nicholas.
Yeah, he's great, isn't he? Senior technology reporter,
likewise.
Electronics reporter for Consumer.
Younger than my daughter,
Reports.
but that's another story. Shows how old I am.
Everybody's younger than your daughter, Larry. Larry Magid, he's the old man of tech. ConnectSafely.org. He's got JFK's autograph at Larry Magid. Actually, I'm so jealous. That bumper sticker is awesome. Yeah. That is awesome. Thank you for being here, Larry. ConnectSafely.org is a great place to go for parents to understand what's going on the internet and how to protect their young children there. You've got some really good resources, including, that's cool, that Roblox, how to use Roblox safely. That's really good. I think a lot of parents look at Roblox, say, that's cool, but I don't know anything about it. So it's nice.
We will educate you.
Family Guide to Parental Controls, tips to remember and manage passwords. There it is, Parents Guide to Roblox. Really cool. Really cool. ConnectSafely.org. Thank you, Larry. And of course, Jason Heiner, the man who elected me president of the internet. Thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without you, my friend. Editorial director at CNET now, and a longtime regular on the show. It's great to see you. Have a wonderful week. Anything you're working on that you want to share with us?
Oh, well, we have a little mini package coming up this week on CNET, talking about, it's been a year, obviously, since the shutdown, since
1 year
we all went home.
Yep.
So, good stuff. We'll talk about Zoom anxiety in that series. We'll talk about the way services have revolutionized so many different things, as we talked about on the show today. So, yeah, come and check that out this week on CNET, and otherwise, we're covering all the stuff that everybody cares the most about in terms of consumer technology. So it's been a year where a lot of people have put a lot more faith and had to put a lot more faith in tech. And so it's been really interesting. It's been really a fascinating year. And I'm sure that so many things have been changed for the future as well and accelerated. So it's going to be interesting to watch this year as we do go back to in person to see which things stick around and which things continue to put the pedal to the metal.
You're right. And I didn't mention this, but I will mention it for Nicholas. His latest in Consumer Reports is optimize your Wi-Fi networking for working at home. That is very useful. And I believe that's free, even if you're not a CU subscriber. Is it?
I believe so.
I'm logged in, so I can't really tell. Anyway, thanks to all three of you. I really appreciate it. We do TWiT every Sunday afternoon. I hope you found us, if you're watching live and you didn't come an hour late, because, of course, in the U.S., we've sprung forward. We're now on daylight saving time. That means we do the show. Well, it's still 2:30 Pacific. It's still 5:30 Eastern, but it's now 21:30 UTC. UTC didn't move. We did. 21:30 UTC. If you want to watch live or listen live, there's a stream at twit.tv/live. You can also join us in the chat room if you're watching or listening live. They're live too, believe it or not, at irc.twit.tv. On-demand versions of this show and everything we do on the podcast network are available at twit.tv, our website. You can also, of course, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/twit. There's links there to all the shows. Every show has its own dedicated YouTube channel. You can also, of course, find us by getting a podcast application. Subscribe. That's a good page, too. That's all the sponsors, but that's not the one I was thinking of. You subscribe, and that way you'll get it automatically. And if you do have a podcast platform that allows reviews, do me a favor and leave us a review so other people know to listen to the show. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Another TWiT is in the can. Bye-bye.